This is the MLW Radio Network.
All right, so now comes my favorite part of the show. It's my favorite part of the whole evening. We've been on tour since March, and I have no better time, any time than right now, because I get to go sit down, have myself a nice cold one, and listen to the greatest rock and roll guitar player in the world, Mr. Eddie Van Halen.
Welcome, everybody, to the Mind of the Meanie, your weekly trip into the world, according to former WWE and ECW wrestler, the Blue Meanie. Cover wrestling, music, movies, sports, and lots of useless knowledge, all contained in the Mind of the Meanie. I'm Josh Shernoff, he is the Blue Meanie, and today is a very special tribute episode. We're not going to talk about everything and useless knowledge as much as we're going to talk about music, and specifically the late, great Eddie Van Halen. We're going to kind of do a deep dive, talk about him. We've got Joey Campbell from the Swamp Campbell stopping by later on to talk all about Van Halen and the influence. But Meanie, the first question that I'm going to ask is pretty much what everybody who knows you asked you on social media with the horrible news of Van Halen's passing. How are you?
Oh, man. It was fine until I listened to Sammy introduce Eddie. Oh, fuck. I'm fucked up, man. Not physically. Physically,
Physically, you're always fucked up, but yeah. It's
more fucked up than I am. You know, I'm an emotional guy. I'm not embarrassed to say that. Let me get it. Tito, get me a tissue. Hold on, let me get a... Fucking holy shit! That intro got me. Yeah, and later on we're gonna have Joey Campbell, who you hear each and every week with the BWO theme. We reached out to him. I thought it'd be nice to have him on, not only because he listened to the podcast. He's been my best friend since 1992, but he's one of my favorite guitar players, and he's done. You know, besides being a guitar player, he's also been on the other end of technology and stuff like that. And what better? I mean, it'd be great for me to be here all Mark fanboy, but to bring somebody on who's you've played guitar, so you can relate. Mm-hmm. But it's a good excuse to bring on Joey because I love Joey so much, and have him talk too. So that's come up in a little bit, but fuck, man. I'm really, really sad. I'm not going to be like this the whole fucking show. Just
no, hey, look, I think what people are going to walk away with after this show is maybe an understanding of why this hit you so hard. Yeah. And hopefully people are going to walk away from this show going, I need to put on some fucking Van Halen. That's I think the best thing that we can do here today. So Meanie, yeah, I mean, anything you want to say to kind of kick things off, or you just let me know when you want me to kind of go deep dive in the old Wikipedia, if you will, of some facts on Van Halen.
Yeah, dude, it's just my whole life has been like three things. You know, my love of wrestling, of course, my love of music and love of stand-up comedy. And Van Halen was a huge part of that, annoyingly so to others. Friends who knew me or classmates in high school. Technically, Van Halen's the reason why I met Bill Apter. Yep. I was going to the mall one day to get an airbrush jacket made. And
so he wasn't a totally positive influence on your life then?
Yes. Yes, brother. I was going to get my Van Halen jacket airbrushed, and that's when I met Bill Apter, and that helped shape my wrestling career. But it fucking hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I kind of knew it was coming. Had an idea, but it still hit me like as if I lost a loved one. So a member of my family. I was a child of the '80s and stuff like that, and just like a lot of how wrestling fans watch wrestling and they watch shoot interviews or now listen to podcasts, and then you kind of get a sense of and feel for somebody you admire. Growing up in the '80s, thank God I grew up in the '80s, and we had MTV, and through MTV I got to. I mean, you always hear the songs and you hear the music, and now with wrestling, it's that's the same reason why you fall in love with a wrestler. You get to know the personality, whether it's you follow them through their whole career on like Tough Enough or stuff like that, or through documentaries, other forms of documentary, I should say. But I was obsessed with Van Halen growing up. Just before we came on this morning, I went on YouTube and I was watching the 1986 special on Van Halen called Unleashed, which pretty much introduced Sammy into the band of Van Halen after after David Lee Roth had left. The voice of Van Halen left David Lee Roth, and they bring in Sammy Hagar, and you don't know how it's going to happen, and it took off. It still took Van Halen pulled off a really rare feat, where when you think of all bands that like ever replaced singers, and it's only worked a couple times. AC/DC replaced Bon Scott with Brian Johnson. Genesis replaced Peter Gabriel with Phil Collins. And then, I'm sure, and there's other instances as well, but off the top of my head.
But it's not the most common practice to be able to have to be able to have the success that they had after already having success with one lead singer, and then to continue and have such great success with another one. It is kind of rarefied air. It's not something that happens all the time with bands.
Yeah. And to me, that's a testament to Eddie, because everybody's, got their favorite guitar players, and there's no wrong answer. You know what I'm saying? If there's a guitar player you love and they have affected you in a positive way, I'm not going to argue with you. I know people who love Stevie Ray Vaughan. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan too. But Eddie Van Halen, through his music and, like I said, watching all the interviews and, just he seems so relatable. Like a guy you would just, if you weren't at his concert, you'd be in the crowd watching the band with you, and you'd sitting there he seemed like your friend. He always, whether it's on stage or, through music videos and stuff like that, he would turn to the camera and he had that boyish grin, no matter how old he was. When he started, he started Van Halen, and Van Halen started in 72, 73. And then they eventually got signed and came out, and they were unleashed onto the world in 78.
Well, let's get into that. Let's do a little, I'll do my best Conrad Thompson here. And
let's do it, man.
What say you, Meanie?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, no,
I'm definitely going. I'm definitely going to need a little help, because this is and people are like, "Oh, come on, Meanie, you didn't even know the guy. He's just a guitar player." No, man, it's a huge part of my life.
First of all, here's the thing: you talked about anyone who has a guitar player that like does something for you. That kind of if you can listen to music, you can close your eyes, you can listen to a song. First of all, music and in a lot of ways, specific musicians end up being the soundtrack of our lives. They're the soundtrack to specific parts of our lives. They can bring back these nostalgic memories of some of the best times of your life can be associated with a song. Some of the some of the things that helped you through some of the worst times of your life, and putting on a specific song that picks you up and takes you out of the darkest place that you'd been in. So to me, and I think that's something I'm hoping, if somebody is in that boat of it's just a guitar player, kind of get over it type thing. I'm hoping that today's episode is really going to explain how this this guy had the ability to basically reach in and play such an enormous part in your emotional life, as ridiculous as that might sound on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
The reality of it is this is a huge loss that you and so many people around the world are feeling. And I think, I think that everyone can relate to it. I don't think we're going to have that many people in the boat thinking, oh, get over it. I think most people have, if it's not Van Halen, they've got their person, their celebrity, their musician, their whatever it is, their professional wrestler. We just had what would have been Eddie Guerrero's, I want to say 52nd or 53rd birthday the other day. You look at somebody like that, the outpour of love for him, 99% of the people who are still in tears today talking about never met the guy. Yeah. But he took something, So so this is a safe space, Meanie, because we're inside your mind. So this is a safe space here. And you feel whatever the hell you have to feel. And I think everybody's going to really understand it.
Eddie Guerrero is a great person to bring up because just like Eddie Van Halen, besides the fact they both named Eddie.
Right.
And that brings me back to George Carlin going, whatever happened to guys named Eddie? There's always Todd and Tucker. Yeah, well, give me Eddie. Dude, when Eddie Guerrero passed away, the world wept. Just the way I wept. I've been weeping. Since Eddie's passing. It's just because you could see the passion and the relatability and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. When Eddie Guerrero would do the thing where he'd be cheating and hit the chair, throw it to the ref, selling it, and then they would have the thing on. He'd be like, oh, and go, and so relatable.
Yeah.
It's the smile, man. And Eddie had the smile, and he was a genius. And he got me out of a lot of his music. I don't even care who sang for him. Just Eddie's music got me out of a lot of dark spots in my life.
So, what a lot of people might not know is that he was born in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands. Edward Ludwig Van Halen. And his father, which reads Jan, so we'll say Jan. I'm
Jan
sure.
Or Jan. I think people say Jan.
Yeah, I mean, there's I'm sure a better way to pronounce it than how I'm saying it. But one of the things in my research, because I did try to find some, Wikipedia plus other article research, so I knew what the hell I was talking about, other than just, man, I really like his music, wanted to be able to contribute something here. But what I found was that his father apparently was a jazz pianist, a clarinetist, and saxophonist. And so
his dad actually went on to play on one of their albums.
Really?
If you go to the Van Halen Diver Down album, which a lot of people laud as, they did a lot of covers, but they did Van Halen did a song called Big Bad Bill is Sweet William Now. And Eddie's father plays the clarinet on that song.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, well, Van Halen was it was a family affair from the beginning anyway, because, of course, his brother Alex. And we'll get to that. In 1962, Van Halen's family moved from the Netherlands to the United States, settling in Pasadena, California. His older brother, Alex, and he both learned to play the piano just around the age of 6, from what I was able to research. And it was something that I think was so important to their family, because everything that I found here references how they traveled to this elderly piano teacher. They commuted from Pasadena to San Pedro. And I think to not just say, hey, we'll find some random, clear, there must have been something with this piano teacher. And I think that spoke to right off the bat. I'm sure their father's influence of music is so important. We want you to kind of immerse yourself in it. He revealed,
and the cool thing about them traveling over here, they're immigrants, and just to expound on what you were talking about, Eddie and his brother, they grew up in the Netherlands with his father and his mother, and it was life was a little bit rough for him. the father was Dutch and his mother was Indonesian.
Yes.
And that was kind of taboo. Back in the Indonesia was ruled by, I want to say, the Dutch. And they wanted to leave what they were going through there, kind of like persecution in a way, because, it was taboo. So they came over and they took a 9-day cruise from the Netherlands over to America. And as a way to pay for their travel, room, board, foods, Eddie, Alex, and his brother and his father, they were the musical act on the ship coming over. Eddie would play piano, Alex would play piano, Dad would play clarinet, or they would switch off and on. And, that was as a way of, they earned their keep coming over from the Netherlands.
Wow.
They came over, and the father was, classically trained and all that stuff. And like you said, they came over 1962 and, he came over to America and, pursued music, continued to pursue music.
Yeah. He revealed in an interview one time that he never learned to read music, which was something that I related to because I play guitar and the tiniest bit of piano, and I understand the concept of music theory, but I cannot just sight read music. I can't at all, and I just it's always been neat to me when I see these people, because you look at somebody like Eddie Van Halen and you go, well, obviously he can probably read it like like I'm reading off of his Wikipedia biography.
he could write a symphony if you want.
Yeah, but it's really interesting how much of it was just by feeling it and just learning it and just kind of. They even talk about how when he was doing. He would do all of these recitals of Bach and Mozart, and he would just improvise.
Yeah,
he would just kind of
The cool thing is, like you say, he couldn't read music, and they tried to teach him, and he just couldn't get it. And a lot of the stuff he does is kind of worked out for me in the wrestling world, where he just would study their fingers and just mimic what they did.
Yeah.
When it comes to me doing wrestling parodies and stuff like that with the NWO and BWO, Paul once described it in a WWE magazine article they did on me. He'd watch me go over and just practice, playing out the role in my head and stuff like that. So Eddie would just I would always visualize, whoever I did the parody of. And when it came to wrestling styles and people I borrowed from, I mean, he always borrowed from the best,
Mm-hmm.
So I would study and mimic and all that good stuff, and just working into my own repertoire where, I found out that Eddie couldn't read music, and he was bullshitting his teachers. He was just studying
watching.
Watching.
He was just watching their fingers and learning.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It was amazing. I mean, I could never do that.
But I mean, it obviously speaks to the gift the guy had, right? I mean, it's that all ties together. What he was able to eventually create and play ties into this ability to just look at somebody playing Bach or Mozart and just go, okay, I'm seeing what they're doing. I'll just copy along and follow with my fingers. That's pretty amazing. One of the other things I found, and I love, this is exactly as I hoped this was going to do. I'm going to give little bits and pieces, but you are basically a walking encyclopedia of Van Halen, which is awesome. And
well, this isn't just for me, because like you said, I know so much Van Halen, but there's a lot of people out there who just know the songs.
Yeah.
So if we could give a peek into the window of what Eddie was, and also related to how it affected me in so many ways. I mean, of course I wanted to be a wrestler. I tried music, and Jesus, I couldn't fucking carry a note if you put fucking handles on it. But if we could just dive into what made me fall in love with him, and he didn't have it easy either. So I appreciate what you're doing. With I want to we both want to try to educate people to the genius of Eddie and why and how I fell in love with him.
So we talked about his father, and you mentioned being classically trained. And from what I read, the parents obviously wanted their children to be classical pianists. That's why they were traveling to train with who they were training with. Eddie, obviously, and Alex as well, liked rock music much better. An interesting thing that I found was that when Alex began playing guitar, Eddie bought a drum kit for himself. But after he heard Alex's performance of the drum solo in the song Wipeout, he gave Alex the drums and began learning how to play the electric guitar. And that blew my mind to think of the two brothers flipped.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to imagine both would probably have been very decent on each other's instrument as they, but just to think of, we've talked on the show before, like sliding doors, the way, if he had just been like, oh man, I'm going to give him the drums. And then just thought, nah, you know what? I'll dedicate myself to the drums. He's doing really well with guitar, and just went in a totally different direction. How the world of music would have changed and how your life would have changed and so many other people. So I just thought that was such a neat, because your first thought was like, obviously as a kid, he wanted to play the drums. He wanted to play, the guitar, but I thought that was really cool.
But think of it. One of the best guitar players of all time one of the best guitar players of all time, and the guitar was his third instrument. His father, they were classically trained in piano. And then Eddie described it, he's like, we were, playing classical piano, and then all of a sudden the Beatles happened. And the Dave Clark Five, and he said there was a specific song by the Dave Clark Five called Glad All Over. And he said, I heard the drums of the boom, boom, ba, boom, boom, boom. And he's like, Eddie wanted to play the drums based off of Dave Clark Five's, Glad All Over. So Eddie said, I was learning the drums, and I bought this, $125 drum kit, and I was doing this paper route to pay for the drums. He's like, well, I'm out, busting my hump, delivering papers to pay for this drum kit. Alex was playing the drums behind my back, kind of like, here's my girlfriend and here's my brother seeing my girlfriend behind my back kind of thing, So Eddie said, F you, if you're going to play my drums, I'm going to play your guitar. And at the time, Alex was playing Spanish guitar, like flamenco style guitar. And Eddie said he took Alex's guitar and started, noodling around with it. And he realized from his years of just playing piano, his fingers were so limber that he could just do the play the strings, pickless, just do. And, it came to, screw you, you took my drums, I'll take your guitar. And from there, that iconic duo, imagine if, that changed the course of rock and roll right there. Yeah. Just, what's that?
No, I was just going to say, the fact that, they were family, they were there. You had the start of your band built in, and they're by far not the first family members to create a musical group, but that, right off the bat, you've got your percussion and you've got your rhythm / lead guitar. Like you kind of have your band ready to go, the bare bones.
And through the years, you can see how tight they were. Eddie and Alex came to this country, United States of America, from the Netherlands when they were like 6 and 8. And they didn't speak the language. They didn't speak a word of English. And, they got bullied a lot in school just because they were from another country and couldn't speak the language, and they got beat up. So they went through this tough time together, which made their bond that much tighter. So they had this bond through being immigrants, overcoming this tough, the persecution of being, the new kids at school and stuff like that. And then forming this bond through music, which was like, music was their, their first language. Dutch was their second language, or vice versa. Dutch was their first language, music was their second, and then English. And then they have that tight bond. They're kind of like the McKenzie brothers from Strange Brew. You never see them apart. Just
so.
Yeah.
The two of them, though, they formed, it said that they formed their first band with 3 other boys calling themselves the Broken Combs, and that they performed, and this is a pretty big venue, lunchtime at Hamilton Elementary School in Pasadena, when Eddie was in 4th grade. And he would later say that was when he first felt the desire to become a professional musician. And it's like, how many, this is kind of, we've talked about this on the show so many times with you talked about how people would laugh at the idea that you wanted to be a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
And it's such a follow your dreams type of lesson that we're saying here. But how many people walk past these kids playing during lunchtime in elementary school and said, "Oh, right there, I'm seeing the greatest guitarist in rock and guitar history, right there playing. Oh, he's going to be." No, they may have thought, I wonder if one day, they'll probably do something in music maybe or what. Like, you got to follow your dreams. I don't know what happened with the other 3 members of that band. If I were them, I would be name dropping him to this day, but claiming that you taught him how to play. But I just think it's just another example of a kid who had big dreams, and you're talking about this guy coming from another country and not being able to speak English, and now he's coming in, he's gonna, he wants to be a professional musician. In 4th grade, he's thinking this. But I mean, he already had such the Broken Combs. I mean, what an amazing name for a band. In 4th grade, that's fantastic.
What was the name of Howard Stern's band when he was a kid? The Electric Comic Book or something like that, and they had a song, something like that. So it's amazing what you call. You're a kid and you're like, oh, this is gonna be the greatest rock and roll name ever.
Yeah, right.
Or we're gonna be the Broken Combs. Oh man, that's so kick ass.
And we're gonna talk a lot more about band names and some names that they turned down and some names that they went through on their way to Van Halen. But first, we're going to take a quick word to tell you a little bit about Homage. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. If you want in on the best wrestling tees in the business, Homage has you covered. All the styling, profiling, limousine riding looks from the rings of yesterday and today in super soft fabric and comfortable fits you can't get enough of.
Yeah, that's right, man. I've been a fan of Homage for years. I've been wearing their shirts for years, everything from pro wrestling to pop culture. And, dude, I get so many reactions out and about in the wild when I'm wearing my Dusty Rhodes shirt, or I'm wearing I'm a Funker shirt, or my old school ECW shirt. Homage makes shirts that are comfortable and stylish and definitely retro, which is the thing I've loved about them for years.
Mind of the Meanie listeners, you can use the coupon code MEANIE for 20% off your first purchase at homage.com. That's HOMAGE.com.
Ooh, the homage.com. Freak out! Freak out! Freak out!
So, Eddie Van Halen, at one point, he said that he had learned almost all of Eric Clapton's solos in the band Cream. Quoted as saying, "Note for note, I've always said Eric Clapton was my main influence, but Jimmy Page was actually more the way I am in a reckless, abandoned kind of way," which is something, Meanie, you on the show have talked about. And you've talked about comparing our podcast to the way that he compared his guitar solos, which was, falling down the stairs and landing on your feet. So it is interesting that he had this obsession with Eric Clapton's solos and Eric Clapton being this main influence, but was able to see, a lot of times people have a hard time seeing themselves for who they are. But that he was able to look at Jimmy Page and say, okay, like that's a little bit more my style. There's so many, you'll see indie wrestlers all over the place who every single one of them think they're Triple H or think they're The Rock or think they're Stone Cold. And, and they're more of a Colin Delaney than anything else. And, but to be able to look at something, much in the way that you did with your wrestling career, and I don't mean this to be backhanded in any way at all.
No.
You were able to look at that and, you didn't look at yourself and say, you know who I am? I'm that brooding, serious type that's gonna, like, no, you looked and you said, this is who I am. I'm a lover of stand-up comedy. And you became the Blue Meanie. You became an entertaining character. So I think that a lot of success for people comes from being able to look at themselves and say, for better or worse, this is who I am. Man, do I wish I could be that. But this is who I am, So he looks at Eric Clapton. Oh man, I really want to be like Eric Clapton, but no, I'm a Jimmy Page. And I thought that was so interesting to read. And again, I keep coming back to, the more and more I read about him, I kept coming back to, this was a guy who he got it. He got who he was. He got what he wanted to show the world, and I think that played a really large part in his success.
Yeah, and even to go a little bit before that, he said, I've heard interviews where Eddie was like, I loved Jimi Hendrix, but I was so poor I couldn't afford his gear. I couldn't afford the pedals, I couldn't afford this or that and the other thing. But like, he watched Eric Clapton, and Eric Clapton just Eric Clapton's nickname is called, he's slow hand, because he got the most out of every note without going so fast. And if you go on YouTube now, there's like interviews. There's interviews when Eddie first came out, and they're like, "Hey, can you play Crossroads?" And he just plays it note for note, just Eddie and his guitar, no other member in the band. He's just playing, Eric Clapton's Crossroads, and from there he just he studied. And the cool thing about Clapton, that was also Dimebag Darrell's gateway into playing guitar. And the reason why I bring up Dimebag Darrell from Pantera, and Eddie's influence, Dimebag Darrell from Pantera was in the band with Pantera. Okay, I'm being redundant. His brother Vinnie Paul, and there were two brothers. One played guitar, one played drums, and Eric Clapton played such a huge part on Dimebag Darrell's thing. The first song he learned was Cocaine, and from Eric Clapton, and he got so good that people, he would enter a contest, and they said, you got to stop entering these contests because you're going to keep winning. But eventually Eddie went on to fall in love with Jimmy Page, and in a cool little unique way. Dimebag Darrell from Pantera went from liking Eric Clapton to Eddie Van Halen, Eddie had such an impact,
all interwoven,
and the fact that Dimebag was in the band with his brother Vinnie Paul, and there was two brothers who, in their own right, were revolutionary, inspirational. Every night before Vinnie and Dimebag went on stage, they gave each other and would say Van Halen out loud before they took the stage, because Eddie Van Halen and Alex Van Halen had such an impact on their playing in Pantera. Before every concert, they grab each other, hug each other, and go Van Halen.
That's crazy.
And to think that right before Dimebag Darrell was murdered in Ohio by that fucking lunatic, his last words ever on this planet were Van Halen. He took the stage, started playing, and what happened. But it all goes back to Eric Clapton. Eddie fell in love with Eric Clapton, and he eventually wound up becoming more Jimmy Page, and in a way where Jimmy Page did things that were so inspirational, where he can make the guitar sound like something other than the guitar. Like Jimmy Page could take the guitar and he would play the guitar with a violin bow, and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then later on, Eddie Van Halen on Diver Down, he had a guitar solo called Cathedral. And you listen to that, you're like, man, how is he doing that? That sounds like a violin, just like Jimmy Page. Yeah. So you could definitely see where through Eddie's playing, you can definitely hear the Eric Clapton inspirational, because deep down, Eddie's a blues guy. A lot of his guitar playing's bluesy. It has a blues feel to it, but just like a little bit sped up version of the blues. And Jimmy Page with just like that wildness, that recklessness, the otherworldliness. Jimmy Page's guitar playing could take you to somewhere else. You listen to Kashmir by Led Zeppelin, your mind goes to Morocco, and you're in the desert and stuff like that. I listen to Eddie Van Halen play, and I would just mentally go somewhere else and daydream and think of anything. Like, I would think about wrestling matches, listening to Eddie play, Unchained, that's going to be my ring song, and I would sit there and daydream about wrestling all while listening to my Van Halen albums at home. I mean, the one thing I miss about being a music fan, I know we're talking about Van Halen, but just music in general, and it's the same thing with wrestling magazines. I miss the thing of going out and going to a store and buying an album and bringing it home and putting it in my CD player or on my turntable and just laying in my bed and playing that music. And I would read the liner notes. I would smell the ink on the cassette tape. I would smell the ink on the sleeve cover for the album and just get lost in the music. And with Van Halen, I just got lost in the music so much, growing up asthmatic and being in the hospital and being in an oxygen tent and being bullied for being overweight and being asthmatic and not being able to play in everybody else's fucking reindeer games. I'd go home and I'd be fucking depressed. And, some days you want to call it a day or call it a life and you get depressed. But I'd always have my fucking Walkman, whether I was in a hospital with an oxygen tent over my bed, so I can, my lungs would clear. Now they used to call them mist tents, but I was breathing in liquefied steroids for my lungs. I would be so depressed, but I'd had my Walkman with Van Halen in it, and my life just got better and stuff like that. So I can imagine what Eddie Van Halen looking at Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton and getting lost in their music. The same effect happened with me listening to Eddie Van Halen, and I didn't go on to become a musician, but his musical stylings and stuff like that, it definitely influenced my wrestling, and to watch his interviews and stuff like that. There's definitely little quirky things like him or Dave or Sammy would do in interviews, or Michael Anthony, like little funny, quippy things I would incorporate into my own interviews. Like if, you're interviewing at me at, StarCast or at DCW Arena, like I would always make it a point to have like a little funny thing to say, whether it's something funny about something or something self-deprecating, because you could praise Eddie Van Halen all you want. Again, MTV News put up an interview with Kurt Loder, and he's like, "Are you aware of your influence on people?" And he's like, yeah, "I understand it, but I'm just a punk kid with a guitar." Yeah. Eddie Van Halen, you could easily put him on the Mount Rushmore of greatest guitar players, but he was so humble. And I always, I tell a lot of people, Eddie Gilbert, another Eddie, imagine that, influenced me on how to treat fans and stuff like that. But Eddie Gilbert also taught me how to be humble. Eddie Van Halen, just watching interviews, and you would think that he would fucking be sucking his own dick, in these interviews, but he's just like, I'm just a kid with a guitar, man. I'm just a kid with a guitar. And I've taken that aspect, incorporated it into my own life. To where, if somebody pays me a compliment, I'm like, no, thank you for being a fan. Thank you for caring. And stuff like
that's
that.
something that's really, really cool, too, when you see somebody who's a celebrity and somebody who has that platform. And, look, you can count on one hand the amount of people who could look at Eddie Van Halen and say, I'm going to play guitar just like you. But there were other aspects of his public personality, things like that you were able to look at, that you never know. Somebody was just thinking to themselves, I think I'm just going to be a dick today. And then they watch an interview with him and they go, he's so nice to people. Like, that's kind of the way I want to be. And, but going back to the 60s, the Broken Combs didn't last for long because they changed their name to something better as they started doing some backyard parties. You need something better than Broken Combs. And what's better than Broken Combs? the Trojan Rubber Company, and I will drink to that. To their aha moment. I've got an aha. Apple ginger, which I've never had. I was saving it for the show.
I cheated the fans out of the opening, but I was parched, so I got the Wegmans brand black cherry vanilla, which I've kind of fallen in love with.
Go Birds. Yeah, it's good.
Go Birds. They actually got a fucking win, thank Christ.
This is not bad. Okay.
Aha's pretty good, man.
But this is where it gets really cool.
Yeah.
So the Van Halen brothers formed a band called Genesis. And if you're thinking, wow, they were a part of Genesis? No, it is not that Genesis. Eddie as lead vocals and guitarist, Alex on drums, Mark Stone on bass. They initially, this is where it gets really cool. And Meanie, you're going to be able to take it, I'm sure, deeper into the story here. But from what I was able to find, they initially rented a sound system from a young man named David Lee Roth, but decided to save money by letting him join as lead vocalist, even though his previous auditions had been unsuccessful. Eventually, they decided in 1974, they replaced Stone with Michael Anthony, who was the bassist and lead vocalist from local band Snake. Following an all-night jam session, he was hired for the bass and backing vocals. So before we go to them changing their name again, any fun background story on David Lee Roth, anything you can expand upon on him joining the band and that story?
Yeah, initially they had their Trojan Rubber Company, and they were also called Mammoth.
Well, that's what we're going to get to after, yeah.
Yeah, but I have to say this because Mark Stone, rest in peace, Mark Stone, he just passed away like 3 weeks ago.
He passed away on my birthday, I believe it was.
So it's your fault.
Of cancer.
Oh, I got to say this. Me and Mrs. Meanie have this thing where if a celebrity dies on our birthday, it's our fault. We go, oh, you killed so-and-so. Yeah. She killed Jerry Garcia because Jerry Garcia died on her birthday, and Chris Cornell died on my birthday, so it's my fault, you know.
We're just three sons of bitches right here.
Yeah, you killed Mark Stone.
But no, that to me was when it first popped up, a notification on my phone that Eddie Van Halen died. My first, in my mind, I just looked at it and thought it was oh, there's some article again about, the other guy from Van Halen. That's, to me, not being an enormous fan. That was my thought. And then I kind of did a double take, and I'm like, wait, what? And then it almost didn't make sense to me. Well, how could the two of them both die of cancer within a week of each other? That can't happen. It was so.
Well, to get back on the Mark Stone thing, he was playing bass with them, and Eddie was the singer for Mammoth, and it was Eddie, Alex, and Mark Stone, and you had mentioned, they were renting a PA from David Lee Roth, and they weren't really too thrilled about his singing, but they're like, he's got a PA, and it'd be cheaper just to fucking bring him into the band. And Eddie really didn't want to be a singer. He just wanted to focus on the guitar. So it made sense to come in, and David Lee Roth joined Mammoth. So Mammoth was David Lee Roth, Eddie Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, Mark Stone. And then eventually, I think Dave was the one who talked them into using their. They're like, dude, you guys have the coolest last fucking name, Van Halen.
Right. So they changed to Mammoth when they discovered that Genesis was already being used. According to Roth, it was his brainchild. He felt that the name had power like Santana.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I'm referencing Tito.
Tito, get me a tissue.
Not that Tito, but yes. No, I think obviously Carlos Santana, but they
Arriba!
They played backyard parties and on flatbread truck, and
flatbed truck, not flatbread. Even though that would be delicious.
I thought I said flatbed truck.
My fat ass heard flatbread. So,
oh man, but no. So now they've got this. They've put together this band. They're now Van Halen. Where do they go from here?
Dude, they were legendary. They were a legendary party band. If you're a fan of Van Halen like I am, go follow Greg Renoff, author of Van Halen Rising, and he just posted an early contract that Van Halen would have, people sign. I'm going to play your backyard party. It's like he was ahead of his time with the business. Signed contract from Eddie Van Halen to play somebody's backyard party for $150 or whatever. And there's so many times they were doing these backyard parties and the cops would be called. And like they're drawing crowds from all over. Thousands of people come to these fucking backyard parties just to see him play.
Well, one of the things that they would do is that they would hand out flyers at local high schools before every gig. They also ended up being a regular Tuesday night band at Myron's Ballroom. But later that year is when the band got its first break, when they were hired to play at the Sunset Strip. They had earlier auditioned, but they were told that they were too loud, so they would not hire them. But a new manager, who you had, is this who you mentioned, Mark Al? What did you say his name was?
What?
Al Gorey? I can't pronounce crap. Anyway, there were new managers of the place. Okay, that's not who you were talking about. They took over the club's hiring, and then they booked them. And that's when, right around that time, is when they decided it was time to record their first demo tape at Cherokee Studios in Northridge. My wife used to work in Northridge when we lived out in California. Nice. Not at the studios. But it was a studio where Steely Dan had recently completed an album. So that was exciting for them. And that's kind of when they became a staple in the LA music scene during the mid to late, kind of mid 70s at that point.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, this goes back to something we talked about on this show, is having a side hustle. Mm-hmm. I mean, we even had an episode called Side Hustle because we talk about side hustles. When Eddie and Alex weren't practicing with the band and stuff like that, they would go out and do odd jobs. And they it's kind of a scam. They would run out and do this little thing where wherever they live, Pasadena, where they lived in California, you had to have your address on your sidewalk, as well as your house or something like that. So they would go around the neighborhood and find houses that didn't have their address on the sidewalk, knock on the door. Hi, we're here from the city. You need to have your address on your house and everything. And they would charge these people like $10 to paint the numbers of their house on their sidewalk. Wow. So they're going, but it's not like you go around shoveling snow in Pasadena, Right. Right. If you want to side hustle in Philly, you go around, knock on the door. Hey, I'll shovel your sweep for $10. So that in California, where there's no snow, they would go around and go, hi, we noticed you didn't have your address numbers on your sidewalk, and they would go around and do that, and and their painter caps and stuff like that, and that went on to help them buy new gear and new equipment and stuff like that. And like you said, Eddie was notoriously loud. I just watched the interview. Like I said, I've watched pretty much every interview, but I've been watching so much Van Halen that he said, when they were playing loud, Eddie was smart enough that he learned electronics and stuff like that. He would go to electricians and have them do these little modification things to make his amplifier that much louder. And then, when he started developing his own amps through, his music, his Eddie Van Halen gear company, he made them, so, it was kind of like Spinal Tap where, why don't you make 10 the loudest? But these guys were 11. Eddie made sure he played loud to the point where he said when they would play clubs, he would take that, that soundproof foam that you put up on the walls in a studio. Sure. He said he would have to take 2 of those and put them in front of his amps because he would murder somebody sitting 3 feet from his amp. They would play these clubs, like the club you just mentioned, and it'd be a place where they have to do covers and they're playing for people having cocktails and whatever, dinner. He's like, dude, I had to put this soundproof foam in front of my amplifier because once I hit the first chord, their head would probably fucking explode. So, he's like,
Yeah,
He
and
always played loud.
I can tell you, when I used to play, I would play those types of venues where people really are. You're meant to be background music. You're up on stage. You've got the nice lighting. You've got all that. But you're really meant. They're there to have conversation with their friends that they're there with, and you're kind of that background music. And one of those kind of rules of thumb is play your music, but keep it to a level where everybody can still enjoy themselves,
Yeah.
But I think what happened with them was, their talent rises to the top. And at that point, I'm sure after a little bit of time, and then they were playing clubs like Whiskey A Go-Go, which is very well known. And I think that at that point, people are there to see them. And that's where you kind of have a shift. And that is right around the time in 1977 when Warner Records offered Van Halen a recording contract. And that album was called Van Halen.
Yeah.
So.
Very well, very adept title. Very, I mean, you got the name Van Halen. It's the fucking, that's a strong name. But I just read this article last night. Excuse me, a little seltzer kiss there. Yeah, well, before that, they had been they were playing the clubs. They're playing these legendary backyard parties where they're drawing a couple thousand people.
And that's important to mention.
If you're running an indie show, you would want the crowd they were drawing. They were, drawing 10,000.
This wasn't their buddy had a couple of friends coming over to their pool. No. And you're, playing a pool party.
They would rent out the Pasadena Civic Arena, this unknown band. Backyard band. And they would sell thousands of tickets to the Pasadena Civic Arena to watch them play. And you go on YouTube and there's a lot of soundboard recordings from these shows. And it's amazing. But there's also soundboard recordings from them where, like you said, you got to play these gigs where you're doing stuff and you would have to do a lot of covers. So they're out there doing covers of like Led Zeppelin. They're doing Stevie Wonder. One of my favorite covers, they do Stevie Wonder's Superstition. They do some Led Zeppelin, they do ZZ Top and all that stuff. And they're playing all these parties. And one night, by chance, Gene Simmons goes out to, I want to say the Starwood or the Whiskey or something like that. And he's up in the balcony. And a lot of people are approaching him for autographs and all that good stuff. And he hears the sound. He's like, and he stops talking to people. He's like, I don't know. I thought I heard like 4 guitar players on stage. And Gene Simmons went over and saw this band, and it's like, I gotta have him. And then Gene didn't have that much, luck, so he did the amicable thing. He's like, guys, I wish I could help you. He ripped up the contract and said, you're on your own. Within 2 weeks, Ted Templeman, who legendary music producer. Behind the scenes, he played drums and bands along the way, but he really became a staple at Warner Brothers Music. He, at the behest of a friend, I can't think of the guys. The guy's Milton Berle's nephew is something Berle. Reaches out to Ted Templeman and says, "Hey man, I got to reach out to you. There's this band you got to come looking at." And at that time, Ted Templeman had stopped going to clubs looking for bands and stuff like that. But on the behest of his friend's word, he went and seen him. He said, they had a table there for me with my name on it and all that stuff. But I didn't want to sit at the table because if I didn't like them, I don't work out. And I don't want to crush their fucking dreams if they see me tipping out halfway through the set. So I went out and found the darkest part of the balcony and watched them play. And within the first minute, he's like, I got to do something with this band. All because of Eddie. And Eddie's playing just blew him away to the fact that where, this is back in the club days where you had to play sets. You would play 3 sets a night. Right. So they did their first set, and he tipped the fuck out the door. And he's buzzing for me. He gets home. And he calls this gentleman called Mo Austin. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. It's spelled a little bit different. He's like, dude, I just saw the greatest band in the world. You got to come see him. And they made plans to go see them the next night. And after the first set of that night, Ted Templeman and Mo Austin went to the locker room, the backstage, and said, who's your manager? They're like, we don't have a manager. And they made Milton Berle's nephew their manager. And from that point on, they're like starting to, they offer him the deal to sign with Warner Brothers. And it was from that Ted Templeman started developing him. And here's as fate would have it, the funniest thing, they weren't really sold on David Lee Roth as the singer.
They were just sold on Van Halen.
Sold on Eddie. He's like, look, if this doesn't work, if we have to talk him into firing Dave, we could have Eddie as a solo act. But as fate would have it, the talks between Ted Templeman and the people at Warner Brothers, Warner Brother Records, they were going to try to they were thinking about calling Sammy Hagar in 1977.
Wow.
To join Van Halen. But it wasn't until Ted Templeman got to go to their practices and rehearsals and start having conversations with David Lee Roth. Mm-hmm. And he started picking up on Dave's personality. And he's like, and like any genius would say, they started focusing on the positives and hiding the negatives. Like Paul Heyman would do with a lot of ECW guys. So it was just through having conversations with Dave where they started to, focus on the aura of the band and personality of the band, and they start recording. And I had to add this story too, because they start recording Van Halen 1, mm-hmm. and Eddie was still out and about in the club scene, right? So he's going out to see that there's this band called Angel back in the 70s. Glam band. They were all white. It's kind of like Striper-ish. They kind of, Striper always wore black and yellow.
Yeah.
This band wore all white. They're glammy, all that stuff. So Eddie goes out to see this band Angel. He's hanging out with them, while they're recording Van Halen 1. Mm-hmm. So they already done demos with Gene Simmons, but they're recording Van Halen 1. And he's like, dude, yeah, we're doing this album. You can come back to the studio and listen to what we're doing. And he brings the band Angel to the studio and he plays them You Really Got Me. So, this is such a fucking wrestling thing too. The guys from Angel listen, oh, that's great, whatever. So they went out and they went to go fucking record their version of You Really Got Me. So this band Angel went to go, ran to the studio, started doing a recording of You Really Got Me after hearing Eddie's demos and them recording Really Got Me. Yeah. So Warner Brother catches wind that Eddie had let them listen to the fucking tape and that this band was going to fucking do You Really Got Me before Van Halen. So Warner Brothers, before Van Halen 1 even came out, they released Van Halen's You Really Got Me as a single. Before, maybe like a year before Van Halen 1, to say fuck you to the band Angel because Eddie had made the mistake of letting them into the studio. Come listen to our new record. Okay, we're gonna go steal your fucking. This is like a WWE got. It's like when fucking move. WWF was stealing shit from ECW.
Yeah,
imagine that. You're seeing them do WWE doing all the ECW stuff during the Attitude Era. This band was going to go fucking steal fucking Van Halen. You really got me before they got a chance to release You Really Got Me. So.
Hey, fun fact.
Yes.
So Gene Simmons, do you know what he wanted to change the name of the band to?
I do. Gene Simmons had Van Halen to a developmental contract, and he wanted them to call themselves Daddy Longlegs.
Yep.
And they were going to have their logo was going to be a spider wearing a top hat. Luckily, Van Halen stuck.
Oh man! So kind of skipping ahead with some things here because I want to make sure we have the time to talk about your connection. But obviously, it's around this.
I'm working it in. I'm crowbarring my feelings in, man.
Do it, man. Yeah. They had the Van Halen 1 album, big success. They were, by the early 80s, Van Halen was one of the most successful rock acts of all time. And the album 1984, which is, if you aren't an enormous Van Halen fan but know Van Halen, you know 1984.
Yeah.
And that went 5 times platinum a year after its release, with its lead single, Jump, becoming the band's first and only #1 pop hit, and garnered them a Grammy nomination. So let's talk about 1984 a little bit. And let's talk about, at this point, you know, we're in 1984. Believe it or not, I'm even alive. But at what point, where are you in your fandom? Have you discovered them yet? And you know what? Before we even get into that, maybe that's a good time to go into to welcome in our friend, the creator of the BWO theme, because I think that's some stuff we're going to talk about a little bit there.
Yes, let's do that. Let's bring him on.
So we're going to do a quick commercial break, and then we're going to bring in Joey Campbell from the Swamp Candles.
Blue World Order.
Like what you hear on Mind of the Meanie? Then come join us over at patreon.com/Mind of the Meanie and become an official member of the Pod Squad. We have exclusive merch, monthly watch-alongs voted by you, plus you get to watch every episode of Mind of the Meanie live.
It's like Fight Club, except we talk about it. And if you want to be a super secret Pod Squad member, come join us on Patreon.
And aside from everything I mentioned before, you also get 20% off all of your merchandise over at ProWrestlingTees.com/Mind of the Meanie. And there's just so much more. So head on over to Patreon.com/Mind of the Meanie. Check out everything we have to offer and become an official Pod Squad member today.
Say hello to the Pod Squad, man. So, we normally don't have guests on the show, but this is a special occasion. We're bringing on a good friend of mine for over 20 years. And I wanted to bring him on because he has an expertise in the field of music. He works he's done recording studio work, and he is the man whose theme you hear every week as we open up Mind of the Meanie, the BWO theme. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, guy I consider family, my boy Joey Campbell from the Swamp Candles. Hello, Joseph.
How are you, dude? Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you
long.
for giving us your time, man.
Oh, cool, man. I'm glad to be here. I've been listening and watching, and the podcast has been great every week. So I've been very happy for the success of it, and thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you listening, because I know you're not. I am basically your wrestling knowledge, I guess.
Yeah, if it doesn't come from you, I don't know it.
And hey, just for legal purposes, if we could have you, I don't know, off the cuff mention about how we have complete rights to use the theme music every week without any legal ramifications.
Of course. Of course. You guys can use it however you like. Did you ever look on YouTube? There's some people have covered it, which I found really interesting. Yeah. Cool.
What's cool, you made it when WWE did a knockoff version of your song.
They did do one. That's right. I forgot about that.
When they looked at it and said, "I don't want to pay."
That's exactly what
it's you and Metallica. That's
I know we're talking about like Van Halen and stuff, but behind the scenes, WWE approached Joey about buying the BWO theme, and that kind of went. Didn't go.
Yeah, it was a whole weird thing. That was a long time ago now, but yeah, it was strange. The whole thing was just kind of weird. They
as for much, you're just like,
No, in fact, I don't really remember all the details.
And can I get a plaque for the DVD or something like that?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because the DVD sold a bunch of copies, and I thought it would be cool to have, like a commemorative gold. Mm-hmm. I'd never have a gold record, but like in Canada, I think if that sold, I don't know, 10,000 copies or something, it was a gold DVD, and you would get that commemorative framed plaque that you see on the wall of, people's studios and stuff. Yeah. But it never happened. So, but I think, I know after that too, I would see it on different compilation DVDs, different matches that you were in and stuff. So it was around for a while, and I'm just glad people know it, and that it was, that you had so much fun using it.
I'm glad you sent me that tape. I was training at Al Snow's gym, and you're like, "Hey, buddy, I gave you my address, and you just sent me a tape, a bunch of songs." And I'm listening. I'm like, and these guys are just jamming into a boombox. I'm like,
that's what it was, yeah.
And then there's like this little bluesy thing before it, and it goes, "Bow, bow, bow." I'm like, That's a wrestling song.
It's funny because Chris, the guitar player, the other guitar player in the band, he always wanted to finish that song, like write lyrics and stuff to it. And I was like, it is finished. It's the BWO theme.
Here it's the Blue Meanie. Here is the Blue Meanie.
Now watch, somebody will do that and put it up on YouTube.
I hope so.
Yeah. No, I'd love to see that.
Yeah. I was like, we do Ask Meanie Anything. And I was like, man, that'd be cool if I had like a time to ask Meanie anything. And he did it. He went and auto-tuned my voice. So every time we do Ask Meanie Anything, it's me singing Ask Meanie Anything.
I'll share it with you right here. It is.
Here. It's time to ask Meanie anything.
So.
You guys are having too much fun.
We are having way too much fun.
Should be illegal. Yeah, but man, thank you for coming on.
Sure.
Me and you are huge. I mean, Josh, huge music fans as well. But Van Halen was a game changer in all of our lives. Where were you when you first? That famous question. Where were you? Where were you when you first heard Eddie Van Halen?
Yeah, it's a thing I've been thinking about recently, and it goes back to I don't know exactly how old I was. It was probably not long after the first record came out. My older cousin Andrew, who's responsible for turning me on to a lot of cool stuff that I'm 3 years younger than him, so he was into stuff before me that I probably wouldn't have been exposed to if I didn't have an older cousin sort of playing me these cool bands. And I remember it as a neighbor of his. He didn't have the record yet, but a neighbor of his did. And it was one of those things where everybody's sort of telling the same story. It was like, everybody was like, have you heard this thing? We don't even know. We can't even imagine what this is. And so they brought this record over. And I must have been there when it happened, because we were sat around the record player, and it was me and him and like I said, a buddy of his who had it. And everybody was just in awe of these sounds that were coming out of the stereo. And I was too young to really grasp what was, the significance of it. But that's my memory of first hearing it. And it was a few years later that they just became an obsession for me. They were sort of, when I was really little, it was Kiss was the first band that I remember getting into, around that time when I was like 7, 8, 9, and just obsessed with them. And after that, it was Van Halen. And it's just, there's nothing in the whole sort of list of bands that I grew up listening to and still love. There's nothing that compares to that band and what that band meant at that time too. Because when you're like when did you discover them? When you're like 10 and you're starting to discover stuff that maybe even stuff that you're finding on your own. Like I had that first experience with listening to Van Halen with those other guys.
Yeah.
But then you go and get these other records and you're like, I don't even know. Do they know about this record? And you start to really get into it sort of organically on your own. That's what I remember about my first sort of falling in love with.
And that's, I kind of had the same experience. I had an older cousin named Barbara, and without her, I probably would have found bands on my own, but she's the one who said, listen to this. It's kind of like that scene from, Almost Famous with the sister in the older records.
Right.
Where, hey, listen to this.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
How old were you? Do you remember?
That's what I was going to say. I'm not sure the exact moment I heard Van Halen, but I'm sure I've always had heard of Van Halen. And like I was into Kiss too, because my sister had Kiss records. I remember seeing the Destroyer album cover and stuff and being frightened of it. I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And she would be playing Kiss and stuff like that. And I want to say, this is going to be a localized reference, but the first time I remember hearing Van Halen, like they said, here's the new song from Van Halen, was on Dancing on Air here in Philadelphia.
Wow.
when they did a cover of Dancing in the Streets.
That's right.
Off the Dive Her Down album. And I heard it, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But it wasn't until, 1984 came out. And my cousin Barbara, her and my cousin, her sister, Barb and Judy, they were like as thick as thieves. They were rock chicks. They were going to see the Police at that stadium and all that stuff. Wow. And I saw the way they reacted to Van Halen. I was like, well, if I think Barb's cool. If she thinks that's cool, it's cool.
It must be cool.
Yeah, it must be cool.
So,
and go ahead, Josh.
Oh, no. No, keep going.
No. There 1984 came out. And I was in this arcade with my cousin Barb and Judy. They're a little bit older than me. And they had a video jukebox when that was the big rage. You put a dollar in and you could watch a music video. And they put on Jump like 30 times or something like that. And I was just watching it, and you just watched that Jump video. And, the thing that caught me was like Eddie's smile, it's like, just like a friendly, like a guy, just like a friend looking at you like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that from there on, like I said, I kind of discovered him in reverse because 1984 happened, and then Dave left the band, and then Sammy joined. And then I got into, through MTV, it was kind of like the movie The Cable Guy, where Jim Carrey's character grows up watching TV, and he kind of relates to things and stuff but not as maniacal as that character. So, like I'm watching the MTV, like before we came on today, I was watching the 1986 Unleashed special introducing Sammy into the band.
Yeah.
I watched it so many times. I watched her. Thank God for MTV. I listened to their interviews so many different times.
Yeah.
To the point where I felt like I was like this. That's why I want this podcast to be. I wanted to be like, you feel like you're in a car ride with us having this conversation. I watched their interviews so many times. I felt like if I walked up to them, I could have a conversation about something they said here and there and another thing. But,
yeah.
So the interesting thing talking to you guys about this is, and I mean, I've been seeing all over social media ever since, last week when he passed. You see how much these songs meant to everybody and how everyone across the board knew them. And that's like the question you were asking Meanie before, and Meanie in turn that you were asking Joe is when did you first hear it? And for me, 1984, I think I would have to say that's their most popular album, because I'm pretty sure Jump is their biggest hit that they ever had.
Jump is in everything from the Olympics to the NBA, everywhere.
But that's the one. But like when you look at like Jump or Panama or any of the other songs that were on there, I knew them forever. I don't remember the first time I ever heard them. It's one of those songs that you feel like it comes on the radio, and for whatever reason, all the lyrics, how the song goes, but you have no recollection of the first time you ever heard this song. It's like it was just always there. And I think because of pop culture and being such a big part of that, like when I was growing up, I may have been hearing it on the TV while I'm sitting and playing with my toys in the corner or something, and it's just always been there. So it's rare, I feel like nowadays, that you have some of these iconic musicians. But I also think something that's interesting, you talked about when they were inducting Sammy into the band. This band, and we're recording this and we have the rest of the podcast too, so I don't know how much is being repeated from, what we're going to talk about. But for one of the big debates you always have when somebody leaves a band is what's the real Van Halen? And I subscribe to, and I believe Meanie is exactly the same with this, that Eddie Van Halen and his brother, they're Van Halen. It's their band. So, but it's a weird thing when you're talking about a lead singer, because in a lot of ways, like I've said before, I grew up more with that alternative rock. I'm a huge Bare Naked Ladies fan. So I was into a different style of music primarily, but that band, when their lead singer left, Bare Naked Ladies continued on, and still to this day, they've done more records without Stephen Page than they did with him. But to me, when I hear Stephen Page solo, I'm listening to Bare Naked Ladies. When I hear Bare Naked Ladies without him, I'm listening to the guys that were in Bare Naked Ladies doing other songs.
Right.
So it's a weird kind of like dichotomy with bands that have the lead singer not being the soul of the band. So where do you fall with that? Where do you land, and what do you have to say to the people who say like, well, the real Van Halen is, maybe David Lee Roth or whatever, right? Like, what do you think with that?
Well, for me, I mean, and everybody's got their own personal preferences. For my personal preferences, it's those original records with Dave are my favorite Van Halen material. That being said, I have a lot of respect for those records that they did with Sammy Hagar. There's some amazing material on those records, and Eddie's playing is as ridiculously good as it ever was. And they attained a level of success that they, honestly, I don't think they would have attained if they had kept David Lee Roth in the band, because it expanded the type of music that they were willing and able to pull off, I think. And again, this is just my opinion.
And that's why you're here. I respect it.
We wanted to bring you on just to echo our opinions. That's all,
But it also, I think it's an indication of how important a band is, like really important to people when they have discussions like that. Because if you didn't care, what good is it?
Yeah.
That was a huge thing when people were like, oh my God. I mean, what was I? I was in high school when that happened. So it was the topic of discussion at every gathering of me and my friends. Was like, how do you feel about this guy? And what the hell is this? This new record, and the Dave record had come out, and that was really good. That first David Lee Roth record was really good. So it was a thing where fans, I think, at that time, experiencing it as it was happening, it was a testament to how important that band was to everybody that was having that discussion, or else it wouldn't have mattered. You wouldn't have really cared about having a heated discussion with your best friend about, who was the better frontman for Van Halen. And it's a discussion that still happens to this day, because both of those lineups were so good at what they did, and obviously so successful at what they did. Even if you don't like the Sammy Hagar stuff as much, you got to be thankful that the band didn't break up.
Oh, sure.
Which was a real possibility if you think about it. Those were huge shoes to fill, and it could have been where they folded. And I mean, thank God that didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that the band was Eddie.
Yeah.
And, in the day, I would, people. It was like a civil war amongst the fans. It was the Hatfields and the McCoys. I don't know, but now in 2020, people are still having that argument, and in a way, it kind of annoys me, just for the fact that here you have the greatest guitar player since Hendrix, in my opinion.
Yeah.
From technology-wise, style-wise, technology-wise, being inventive.
Every possible aspect, really, he had covered.
Yes, he was. Somebody say he was the Mozart of guitar playing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you've got like a Hendrix or like a Stevie Ray Vaughan or like something like.
Yeah.
But there's the innovation, the like physical construction of an instrument that I think is just puts him just a step above, right? Like, and I think that that's something that people sometimes maybe who are only familiar with the songs, like for the longest time, I was only familiar with just, I know Jump, here it is, it's playing at whatever party, right? But as you get to know more, you start to just go like, holy crap, this guy's incredible, like on a completely different level. And I saw something online that someone had written, I don't remember who it was, but who said, you're like, Eddie Van Halen is your favorite guitar player's favorite guitar player. Like, and I think that's really true across the board, and so, yeah, I think it's really been cool. It's always a shame, and we've talked about this Meanie so many times, is unfortunately I feel like week after week there's someone we're trying to pay tribute to.
Yeah.
But it's a shame, thankfully, I mean, he knew that everybody appreciated his talents and his abilities. And in a way, that's the beauty of music, I think, is that it's going to continue to live on. And now, even with his passing, I think even more people, it's kind of made its way back into pop culture in the sense, like, now everybody's looking on social media and what's the number one trend and what's, all the way down to the number 7 trend, right? Like, it's all about Van Halen. And I think that people are starting to learn stuff outside the hits and learn, about, like we talked about, his innovations and stuff. So I think it's nice to see that it's not like, oh, he passed away, well, that chapter's closed and everybody moves on and forgets about it. I think it's going to be one of those bands like the Beatles that the less and less members you had, the bigger this became, right? Like,
and hopefully eventually Billie Eilish will finally get to listen to some Van Halen,
Well, I was saying earlier, describing my first hearing Van Halen, and a lot of people have been going back to that memory for them about first hearing Van Halen, and you were talking about when you were here, when you heard Dancing in the Streets, and forever now, there's going to be that for somebody. There's some kid somewhere that's 3 years old that hasn't heard those records yet, that someday's going to hear that stuff, and the reaction's going to be exactly the same. Their mind is still going to be blown by the sounds that are coming out of that record player, or however they're listening to what they're listening to. But that music is still going to do that.
Yeah.
His playing is going to do that forever. I mean, I've recently, this came at a really weird time because I've just recently started to get reacquainted with all those records again.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I can't remember what triggered it a few months ago, but I got way back into those albums, and I still have all the vinyl. I read the Noel Monk book. I read the Sammy Hagar book, and I was just really enjoying getting like sucked into this, Van Halen world. And it was just a nice distraction with all this shit going on,
Yeah.
Because those records are just pure joy.
They're
to me.
timeless.
They are. And when I listen to them, it's like there's nothing heavy, nothing bringing you down about them. They were having fun. I think you were talking about his smile during the Jump video.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that his personality was as big of a contribution to him being accessible to people who weren't necessarily people who listened to heavy music or listened to guitar-driven music. He was an instantly likable guy who looked like he was having a lot of fun. And he wanted you to have fun. They wanted people to have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't think that should be overlooked, that his personality, I think, had as much to do with him being revered and respected and appreciated to the degree that he was and is. And the songs are great. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that the guy could write a song.
There's another great Van Halen book by Greg Renoff called Van Halen Rising.
I'm in the middle of that one right now, and it's very, very good. It's very good. The amount of research and detail in that guy's book is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So,
about them and Ted Templeman, who
I bought them both at the same time.
Ted Templeman, discovered Van Halen. I just posted the article online, so check that out. But I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, but that's what, I was just saying that it came at a weird time because I was finding myself really enjoying the distraction of Van Halen, being just sucked into those records again. And
then 2020 said,
yeah,
focus
bend over.
Focus on the pain, focus on this horrible year.
Yeah. I did you guys, I texted you, Meanie, right away.
Yeah.
After I heard.
Me
I'm
too.
sure I wasn't the only one texting.
Yeah, I
you.
texted Meanie right away. Meanie's phone probably exploded from the amount of.
Yeah. Not to make it about me, but like people know how much I enjoy this band and love this band. And dude, I posted a photo of my high school yearbook where it says the things you want to do in life: be a pro wrestler, meet Van Halen.
Done and done.
Done and done. And I totally bullshitted my way into meeting them too.
I don't think I know that story actually.
Well,
I know the picture.
Well, welcome to the mind of the Meanie. Meanie?
So
maybe this will be the next animated Meanie Toon.
This could be. I was in ECW at the time, and I had missed Van Halen play the Spectrum because I was wrestling in Pittsburgh for ECW. So I was like, "Fuck!" I loved being a wrestler. I loved everything about it, but I missed a lot of cool shit because we're in our entertainment industry. We're both working on the weekends, so
right.
I missed the Van Halen Sharon show at the Spectrum. So I was looking for tour dates. They're coming back to Montage Mountain in Scranton, or what I think it's Scranton. So at the same time in ECW had a CD come out called Extreme Music through Concrete Marketing. I'm sure you're familiar with those.
That's right. I remember that.
And I had a friend named Jeff there. I guess I can out him now. Jeff Sipler. He doesn't work there anymore, so he won't get in trouble. I was like, "Hey, Jeff, man." And he like when the Sharon record came out, he like sent me like a shitload of copies just to, "Hey, here." Yeah. I'd go up to his office. It was like Willy Wonka. He had a thing full of CDs. He said, here's a bag, grab CD. I got like the Van Halen 3 on, regular CD, metal box, all this. Dude, you gotta hook me up, man. Do you have it in? And he's like, let me get back to you. So he gets back to me. He goes, I really don't have it in, but show up, go to the will call window, and say you have a couple tickets from, and he gave me a name, which I don't remember right now. He goes, yeah, just show up, go to the window and say, I got a couple tickets from blanket to blank. So that's my plan. All right. And I always believe you can do anything you want as long as you act like you belong there.
Sure.
I've walked in so many situations. I just walked through like I belong there, and nobody fucking said a second word to me. Just, hey, how you doing? Keep walking. So I drive up the Montage Mountain, and no tickets, no none. If I had to pay, who gives a shit? But I wanted to meet the band too. But hopefully. So I go up to the ticket window. I go, yeah, I got 2 tickets from blanky to blank. And Lay's flipping through the thing. Hold on. So she goes on the fucking walkie-talkie. Got somebody up here, 2 tickets for blanky to blank. And yeah, it's like fucking Charlie Brown's parents. And she comes up and hands me an envelope. 2 tickets, 2 meet and greet passes.
Ooh.
I went, thank you. Thank you very much. And Ted Knighted it. I went, so I walked away, and I slapped on my pants. I was like, meet and greet. I was like, fuck. I run in. I go, go through, zap my tickets, all that stuff. And I'm asking, meet and greet. Where's the meet and greet? So they point me in the way to the direction of the meet and greet. I get there right as they're fucking finishing.
Oh.
Like the line was just ending. I was like, hi. Yeah. I get to the end of the line. They're like, oh, okay, we got 2 more. So I had a date at the time. I no sell now. So they're like, okay. I was like, I'll go up and get my photo. You can get your own photo. They're like, no, you both have to be in a photo. I was like, fuck. So I beelined it right for Eddie and Alex. I wedged myself in between them like a fucking guy returning a punk kick or whatever. CT coming through. So I get there. I put my fucking arm around Eddie. I put my arm around Alex. Alex leans on me.
Oh man.
And they give you these. They have the one-time use cameras. The fucking clink, 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 clink. And it's got the Van Halen stripes on it. It says Van Halen 3 with Eddie stripes and all that shit. It's like, oh my God, that's so awesome. So while they're getting that ready, I got my arm around Eddie and Alex. I'm like, Eddie's to my left. I go, I fucking love you, man. You don't know me, but I fucking love you. And thank you for everything you ever done. And blah, blah. I'm giving my fucking, I'm giving my elevator pitch,
of why he should love you back.
Was that?
Of why he should love you back? Is that your elevator pitch? Yeah.
Yeah. I always tell people, if you're getting in, whatever your chosen profession is, have an elevator pitch. So if like you get on an elevator, like if I got on an elevator, Vince McMahon gets on there, what can I say to him in those 30 seconds to make him want to fucking, hire me, elevator.
Right. Yeah.
So my elevator pitch and why you should love me back, and, you don't know I had asthma and you cured my asthma, man. No, I wasn't that heavy, but I was fucking like, blah, 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 like a fucking baby, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, thank you, man. I love you too. And then they take the photo, and I just turn around. I fucking give him the biggest fucking hug. Like I might have lifted him out of his Chuck Taylors. If you look at the photo, he's got these Chuck Taylors on in the loosest fucking socks. They like defied gravity around his ankles. And I'm just like, I just fucking love you, man. I think I might have lifted him. I don't know.
Meanie salt.
Yeah. I feel confident that you lifted him just from hearing the way you're telling the story. I feel like you lifted him.
I T-bone Tazplexed him. You're going.
Oh, what a great story.
And then I professional wrestler me. I have to go down the line, shake Alex, thank you. Go to Mikey, Gary, Gary Sharon, thank you. They're like, all right, we got more people. I'm like, oh, sorry, I gotta go. And we went out and fucking Kenny Wayne Shepherd opened up. And I caught the rest of Kenny Wayne Shepherd's act, and then Van Halen came on, and fucking phenomenal. The show I went to actually came out in a bootleg. They called it Pittsburgh for some reason, but it was the Montage Mountain show. I got 8 million fucking bootlegs, but yeah, I got
that show. Yeah. You have a bootleg of that show.
Yeah, but they mislabeled it as fucking Pittsburgh for some reason, but it was Scranton, PA, Montage Mountain. If you ever find that one, but I totally bullshitted my way in, and just
That's great. What a cool story.
Did you ever get a chance to meet him? I mean, you were into Van Halen way before I was.
My first concert, I was 12 years old, and I went to the Diver Down tour.
Okay.
My dad had to take me, so that was embarrassing.
I'm jealous. First I saw him live was the OU 812 tour. And,
okay.
I was living in Atlantic City at the time, so I wasn't really familiar with shows in Philly and shit like that.
Yeah. I saw the 5150 tour with my brother, and that was amazing. We snuck down. No, with my brother Todd. I think he had an extra ticket, or a friend of his couldn't go, because I had moved on. I was into some other stuff by then, and I wasn't really following Van Halen as much as I had been. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. And we snuck down into the front row, which you used to be able to do at the Spectrum. They really didn't. If you knew what you were doing, and again, if you walked through like you were supposed to be there, a lot of times that's all it took. And if you timed it right to where the lights were about to go down,
yes,
nobody cared. In fact, I was texting him the other day about it after, we got the news, and he reminded me that they made a comment from the stage that they thought the show was general admission because there were so many extra people that were smashed up against the front of the barricade. There were way too many people than should have been on the floor of that show.
That's amazing about the Spectrum is like once the lights went down, you saw people rush for the floor and hop the wall and stuff like that back in the day.
Yeah, I saw Metallica there once, and it looked like the entire first level emptied out onto the floor.
Was it Injustice for All?
Yeah, it was when the Cult opened in 89.
I was there. That was like I know we're talking about Van Halen, but I got to talk about this since we got you on. That's like a legendary show amongst people in Philadelphia because if you're there, like during the Cult set. So I guess somebody was heckling the singer Ian Astbury from the stage. And he jumped into the crowd and started punching the dude in the fucking face.
He did, yeah.
And then he threw it was such a badass moment too. He dove from the stage in the crowd, threw a couple fucking haymakers at this fucking dude, gets up, goes back, walks like a bad motherfucker around the side of the stage. You see him going up to the stage, gets back on the stage, grabs his fucking tambourine, goes, "That's how you fucking rock and roll." I
remember that was really intense and it was a great set. I love that band. But when the lights came up after they were done, do you remember people you weren't on the floor, were you?
No, but I know what you're about to say.
Tearing up the seats and passing them over their heads like an assembly line.
Yeah.
Starting at the front of the floor, people just ripped the seats out and would pass them to the person behind them until there were about 3,000 seats piled up on top of each other.
Absolutely.
In the back of the floor. They made it a giant general admission, like mosh pit area. And I thought that was wild enough, the 30 minutes before Metallica came on, that shit was happening. And then as soon as the lights went out, everybody on the first level jumped that wall. And now there's like, I don't know, 3 times as many people on the floor than should be. Yeah. And after the show, I don't know if I ever told you this, I was sitting there. I wanted to wait till some people got out of the parking lot and whatever. So I was in the first level right by where a stairwell was. And somebody walked by and I heard them say to their buddy, "Dude, did you see that? His bone popped right out of his leg." There was some mosh pit injury that sounded really fucking gnarly. That I'd love to see a bootleg of that show.
I'm sure I could find it. I got a friend who's recorded pretty much every concert from Philly. And but like you're talking about the seats being passed backwards, it was like worker ants. They were
it was.
Like it was pre-planned in the fucking lie. Right. All right, guys. Here's our union meeting. As soon as we get down there, we're going to create a mosh pit. You see? Yeah. Stallone fist. Yeah. Rallying the troops. And then during the set, people were ripping the seats off the fucking chairs and tossing them around like fucking frisbees.
Yeah.
At that show in the parking lot, I was like, I went with my buddy, my friend Justin, and we were going to. I was like, we gotta hang out and see if Metallica comes out, right? And we're there till like maybe 2 a.m. But like the police, this is old, 1980s, 88 Philadelphia, where they had the police horses.
Yeah.
And they didn't give a fuck. They were just like hitting with fucking batons, and somebody ran over me with a police horse to try to get me fucking to back up. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And that was the first time I went to a metal concert. And the next morning I woke up and I couldn't even move my neck. I was just like, hey. Hey, how you doing? I look like one of the Coneheads. What's going on?
Did you see the Gene Simmons story about running into Eddie at a Metallica concert?
No.
He was just saying it was earlier than that. It seemed like it was like 86 or something in California, somewhere in California. And they bumped into each other at this Metallica show. And after the show, this is, if I'm remembering the story correctly, this is what Gene said, was that he was waiting for his limo to come get him and take him home. And Eddie Van Halen was like, "I'll give you a ride. I drove, I'll take you home." And Gene was like, "Okay." And, Eddie was famous for having these really nice cars. I mean, that's the whole story with Sammy Hagar joining the band, is because they got hooked up by their Lamborghini repair guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's not the car he brought to the show. Gene Simmons says he pulled up in this Jeep with no doors, and he said it looked like it was falling apart. It looked like something you would go off-roading in. So he said he strapped himself in, and Eddie drove like 100 miles an hour the whole way back home. Wow. And he said he was fearing for his life, and he said he turned to Eddie and he said, "Eddie, slow down." And Eddie grinned at him and said, "Why?"
Oh man. And this is Gene Simmons, a really reserved person who, is known for
Gene Simmons from Kiss.
Yeah.
Well, they knew each other from 77.
Yeah.
Was it the Rainbow gig? Were they playing? I forget where that.
Starwood. And Gene signed them to bring it back to wrestling, a developmental contract. And Gene flew them to New York, flew them to Electric Lady Studios, and
that's right. Yeah.
They did the demos, which the fans have dubbed Zero because it came out before Van Halen 1.
I was wondering, I didn't get why that was called that.
Because Van Halen 1 was Van Halen 1, so they called it Zero because it was before Van Halen 1.
But
those demos are amazing. And then
they are amazing.
yeah, if I mean, they're on YouTube. I mean,
Yeah.
I urge anybody. I want to be the goodwill ambassador to Van Halen, to where, like, you know, when he passed away, everybody said, "I've thought of you, Meanie." No, and I've been trying to post a lot of stuff online, you know, to show people I'm not just like a single white female and Eddie over here, you know, with the being a stalker and
There's
shit
a
like that.
there's a reason for your fascination. Yeah.
There's a reason why I got a tattoo on my leg, the stripes and all that stuff. I want to like that's why I watch reaction videos now.
Oh yeah.
You go on YouTube, you type in Van Halen reaction, and there's this one guy, No Luck Shaq, and he does primarily does hip hop videos, but he'll bust out like a Van Halen video, and he watched Eddie's solo from Live Without a Net.
It's amazing.
And he was like, watching people watch Van Halen for the first time reminds me of why I fell in love with him.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, my video is going to get demonetized. This is straight up porno. So what's this wizard shit going on, you know? But I don't know where I was going with that. I was just, you know, to bring it back to the Sammy versus Dave, it's like, you know, there's two totally different things, you know. To me, the Dave, I've been listening to the Dave vinyl, but like Dave was like, kind of like the high school years, and when Sammy came on, it's like they kind of went to college, you know.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Not diminishing the Dave years, because that was like the party band and stuff like that. And like you said, if Dave had stayed in the band, they could have went the way of, like, you know, maybe Rat or you know, these 80s bands that kind of just
some hits you'll never forget, but
yeah,
you know, not really seeing them on a marquee these days, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or they'd be doing a Geico commercial. Yep. Basically, is what would be happening. But,
we've got Van Halen.
Yeah.
My kid, he might as well. He keeps wanting to jump. That was bad. Don't laugh. That was horrible.
I watched the other day. Have you seen the Springsteen version of Jump that he did on the 2014
with Tom
tour?
From Great the Machine on guitar.
It's great. It's so great. Yeah.
That's how I judge other things too, right? Like Dave left the band, but then like he went and formed this Van Halen Jr. with Steve Vai.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, if you're going to replace Eddie with anybody, Steve Vai's the fucking man, right? But then like Sammy goes, you know, he leaves Van Halen, he starts his own band, and his guitar player, I can't think of his name, bald dude. It's like I can't listen to Sammy post Van Halen because the guy, I know if I go to the concert, the guy's not going to be able to handle Eddie's licks. You know what I'm saying? It's like
his current band, you mean? The guy that he's
the Circle. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when he left Van Halen, I mean, he's had a couple bands since
the Wabaritas, Circle. And you know, he's got Michael Anthony in the band with he's got John Bonham's son, Jason Bonham.
Right, yeah.
Zeppelin. Amazing drummer. If you're going to replace Alex with anybody, Jason Bonham's the fucking man.
Yeah.
But always that, and even with Chickenfoot, I love Joe Satriani, but like he's like the Kenny G of guitar players, you know. He's just like too perfect. He's too clean, you know.
Right.
He seems by the book.
Incredible hair.
Yeah. Eddie drew outside the lines, but it still looked like art. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Satriani's in the line.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I was saying, if we're talking about YouTube videos to pull up, there's one that's the isolated track from I'm the One, the isolated guitar track from I'm the One, and it's just stunning to me. I mean, I've heard that song a zillion times, and I love that song, but it started to really occur to me that one of the reasons why a lot of guitar players respect him so much, and a lot of people consider him the best there ever was, is because he's so precise without sounding robotic. Like there's still a lot of feel and emotion and energy in what he's playing, but it's also at the same time it's technically perfect and amazing that he's pulling off the stuff that he's doing. He's like 22, right? When they record that first record, 21, 22. So it was that combination, I think, that made him, you know, what he was and what people were able to identify with him. There's a lot of people that know he's the greatest guitar player in the world that don't play guitar, that don't have any desire to play guitar, don't know anything about playing guitar. But I think they know that because the songs were great and because he was still human when he was playing that stuff. He was lost in what he was playing. You know, he had a big grin on his face and he's taking the cigarette and putting it on the guitar head and then taking the cigarette back and putting it on. Like, the guy was not a robot with the stuff that he was playing. It was all coming from inside. It was like part of him, really. The guitar was like another limb or something. It was, I think that goes a long way to sort of appreciating what somebody does when you get the sense that it's that natural, that it's not robotic. You know, there's some real emotion behind what he was playing.
Eddie had the best description of his guitar solos I've heard. I've actually compassed to this fucking podcast that we do. He said his guitar solos are like falling down the stairs, but at the end you land on your feet.
Yeah. I don't think I ever heard that before.
He's like, it's like I do these solos, and I go into a place mentally where it's like I'm falling down the stairs, but at the end I land on my feet, and the judges give him a 10. But I mean, you being a guitar player, I mean, how did he affect the way you play and stuff like that? I mean, just like,
well,
I mean, I consider you one of my favorite. You are one of my favorite guitar players. Besides being a friend and stuff like that. Like, I went to go see this other band called Black Eyed Susan, and then Joey and the Swamp Candles were opening. And I liked Black Eyed Susan, but I was like, who's this fucking Swamp Candles band? And then like I met the little background here since we got Joey here. It's like I stopped seeing Black Eyed Susan because they got a little weird. And then I started seeing the Swamp Candles. And I joined their mailing list. I still have all your flyers, all your, the zines.
The newsletter.
Yeah, I still have the magazine. You wrote the kayfabe article in the secret identity.
Oh, that's right, Jake Elwood.
Yeah, he was kayfabe in the world, the Philly rock scene for a little while there. He had a kayfabe article. Right. And then, like I said, all these years later, a couple of years later, you sent me the BWO theme, and I was like, that's, and then you've been a huge part of my career and life, So you're one of my favorite guitar players. I mean, because your playing has touched me emotionally, But when it comes to your playing, like, I mean, how do you look at it? There's things you try to incorporate, and you just go, I'll just be over here doing my thing. That Eddie thing's a different little thing than.
Well, he's an interesting influence because I never tried to emulate what he did because, for one thing, it's outside of the scope of my ability. It's outside the scope of a lot of people's ability to be able to do what he did. But he influenced everybody, which is another testament to how good he was. You'll hear guys that don't sound anything like him. You wouldn't be able to discern from their playing that he was an influence on them. Like mine, I don't think you would hear anything that would make you think that I was influenced as much as I was by the way that guy played. But I think, again, that's a testament to how good his playing was that you didn't have to sit and try and learn the stuff to have it sort of be absorbed into how you approached playing your guitar. Like I learned, I was trying to remember the first thing I learned, like the first rock thing I learned was probably You Really Got Me when I was like 10, because it's a pretty accessible rhythm. And so when you get something like that you can latch onto as a guitar player, and it's like, I can do this. That's why Kiss is so great in a lot of ways. Some of those songs are pretty easy to get when you're first learning guitar, at least rhythm wise. You can play Strutter, you can play You Really Got Me, and that's what I did. And I remember like listening to those albums so much, but never trying to emulate what he was doing, especially lead wise. If I was going to say anything, it would be rhythm wise. He's just an incredible rhythm guitar player. Mm-hmm. Just always right in the pocket. And that's something it's not easy to do. It's as difficult to do as playing leads like he did. And it's as impressive when somebody's that tight with their rhythm section as he was. They were all working, you know, on the same plane rhythm wise. And one interesting thing I read about him once was that a lot of times in the studio, he wouldn't overdub the lead. He would go right in, and you can hear it in that I'm the One isolated track, that he goes back and forth from rhythm to lead effortlessly. And if they ever did an overdub in those sections, he would go back and overdub the rhythm part to have the second guitar underneath the lead. A lot of times there's not a second guitar underneath those leads. A lot of times it's just Michael Anthony's bass line. But, you know, as a guitar player, he was probably the only guy I ever looked at and was like, what is he even doing? Like, what is he playing? Like, what is that guitar he's playing? You know, a lot of times guitar players get into the thing where you're looking at gear, you know, you're looking at what guys are playing, and, you know, this guy plays Gibson Les Pauls and this guy plays Strats, and they're playing through a Marshall JCM 800 or whatever. And that guy, it seemed like every time I saw him, he had a different type of guitar in his hand, and it always sounded like Eddie Van Halen. So it was just, you know, it was a shitty thing to find out last week, to be honest. I didn't know. I had heard rumors that he wasn't doing too well over the last few years. I'm sure you heard him too.
I have who works for, I don't want to out him because he still works for a band. I have a buddy who works for a band, a national band, tours, and they had an opening act that was friends with Eddie. And the guy knew I loved Van Halen. I went to see them play and all this stuff. And he's like, man, I heard Eddie's not doing good. And this is like 2 years ago. I was like, oh, shit. So I reached out to a couple people I know. Have you heard anything? And they're like, I haven't heard anything, but I'll hit you back like that. And then they're supposed to tour in 2019.
I just read that. Yeah.
They were going to bring Michael Anthony back in the band.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who works over at the ballpark, they had July 21st, 2019 reserved for Cincinnati Bank Park, and the opening act was going to be Jason Aldean, country artist, which would have been interesting. But I guess Eddie's cancer came back, and they had to postpone that, you know.
Yeah.
So,
do you think there's a ton of unreleased stuff we're going to hear?
Oh, my God. I would think so. Thank God for Wolfie.
Yeah.
Wolf, you know, people, you know, shit on, you know, Wolfie for replacing Michael Anthony's, and they need to get over it, because if it wasn't for Wolfie, they probably wouldn't have came out.
You're right.
With the reunion tour, the 2007 tour, 2012 tour, and then the last tour was maybe 2015.
Yeah.
Wolfie was the catalyst for all that happening.
Yeah.
And Wolfie was the catalyst for the new album.
Right.
Because Wolfie's so young, he's tapped into the digital world, the online world, to where he's listening to the Smart Marks, the Van Halen Smart Marks fans, you know?
Yeah.
And the reason why they went back into those early demos and retooled them and released them on a different kind of truth in 2012 is because of Wolfgang.
Yeah.
So through Wolfgang, we got another Van Halen album. We got a couple more tours out of them as well. Yeah. So there's there's an online video. Not Kurt Loder, but the other guy from MTV News back in the day who used to do the film reviews.
Oh yeah, I know who you mean.
MTV News just put it on YouTube where they go to his studio, and there's a wall of tape. And he's like, I've been meaning. Eddie talked about how they sat around and cataloged it initially on an old Radio Shack computer, and then the hard drive just shit the bed, so they don't know what's on the tape, so they have to go through it and re-catalog it. So if anybody could do that, it would be Wolfie. So he is the gatekeeper to the legacy. Yeah. And here's the fucking kick in the balls, right? Besides the fact that McCuster's closed, and that's where I would have went if, when I heard the news. Oh. All the bands touring right now, we'd be getting so many tributes and live tributes and stuff like that, to where, when Prince died, everybody did, a version of a Prince song and stuff like that. Eddie was that influential on guitar, to where country artists are doing tributes, Keith Urban and all them are, paying tribute and stuff like that. So the fact that, the world shut down, there's no tours, there's no celebration, hopefully when the heals itself, there's a celebration.
There needs to be, I think if anybody deserves it, it's that guy.
Yeah. 2020 could go fuck itself.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No kidding.
Second that.
Well, you're a guitar player too. I mean, have you, how's Eddie affected you in any way? If,
Made me feel extra bad about my abilities. No,
I sold all my equipment.
Yeah, I smashed my guitars and said I'll never be half the man. No, so
it's like after I saw a Shawn Michaels match, I went, "This is going to burn my."
Why am I doing this? Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Thankfully, though, I had a failed wrestling career that prepared me for this feeling. No, but to me, it's that same kind of just. I think if there's anything that kind of stood out to me as a guitar player, I think it's kind of like what Joey was saying was, so far outside my wheelhouse. It's, I'm never going to get to a point where I would comfortably even tackle any of like his stuff because it's just not, it's going to frustrate me how bad it's going to be. But there was that emotion that he always kept in everything that he played. And that feeling, which is you can just watching his face while he's playing guitar, watching his body movements while while he's playing. Because don't even bother watching his hands because it's too fast for your brain to even comprehend what the hell's going on. But watching the emotion that goes into it, that's something that I feel like I can look at when I play guitar and say like, that's the fun of playing guitar. That's that's the joy that comes along with it, is feeling like you're able to express yourself through the guitar in a way that you otherwise can't let that emotion out. And he was obviously the king at doing that. But I guess it's, if nothing else, it's just a respect when you've picked up. It's the same, you talk about with wrestling. It's the same as when you take that first bump and you hit the ropes for the first time. Your opinion on professional wrestling changes. You could be the biggest fan in the entire world, but your opinion on the wrestlers instantly changes, where you have a respect for them that you could never have had before, because now your body is feeling what that's like. And for me, I guess as a guitar player, I guess my respect for him is that much more than if I had never picked up a guitar, because I can appreciate, that my hands will, after however many decades of playing, will never move as quickly. My brain will never be able to do what he's able to do. So it's one thing I think anyone who watches it who's never touched a musical instrument would appreciate it. But having played guitar and having become relatively okay at playing guitar, right, I can look at it and go, that is so incredible. And that's, and I'm happy with that. Like I said, I'm never going to try to, I'll do some rhythm guitar for some of those songs, but that's about it. But yeah, that's my feelings on it.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who plays at any level in just about any style that wouldn't say at some point in some way he's impacted either how they approach what they play or how they feel about what they play.
Yeah.
How they think about the guitar, how they look at the guitar. I mean, he changed the way people look at the guitar. There's the possibilities, that he was able to
physically change the guitar.
He did. I mean, there's so many famous stories of him not liking something and taking it apart and putting it back together until he liked it.
Yeah.
I think he was doing that throughout his entire life. He never really stopped tinkering with his stuff. I've seen interviews where he had different relationships with different guitar companies over the years. And when he would move on from one to another, I saw an interview with him. He said they stopped doing the things I asked him to do. Like he still had things that he was trying to improve on. And when you listen back to the stuff like the first record, it would have been very easy for anybody to be like, I got this. Yeah. I mean, did you hear what I just did? I'm 21. Did you hear what I did? Like, I'm good. I don't need to improve on anything.
Right.
And he didn't. His whole life, the rest of his professional career, I think he was tinkering and changing what he was playing and how he was playing and the amps he was using and the gear he played through. He was constantly on a search to improve what he was doing, which is really a remarkable thing to say for a guy who at 21 was being lauded as Hendrix. I mean, that praise came early for that guy, and it never went to his head, and it never changed his approach.
Yeah, he could have took that, the praise and folded under it.
Yep.
Some people
He could have.
Yeah.
He also could have rested on his laurels. He could have, as what you're saying, and said, "I don't need to improve. Look how good I am. I'll just phone this in for the rest of my career, and people will drop down and praise me."
Yeah. Meltzer gave me 7 stars, man.
Yes. Oh man, I got to go see. Did he ever play Tokyo? Because
yes, actually.
All right. Obviously, that's the show that you need to watch if there's anything.
Van Halen from the
little
Tokyo
wrestling.
OU 812. This is outside your wheelhouse, Joe.
Okay. Yeah, I'll not like I know what you're talking about though.
They played the Tokyo Dome twice with Sammy and Dave, and they did the one album from there. But yes, awesome. Meltzer gave it 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. So.
Naturally. I heard he gave 10 stars to Meanie Toons. So
it's like this guy is. If I could break it down to Joey in music terms, Dave Meltzer's kind of like the Ben Fung Torres or whoever that guy was from Rolling Stone magazine.
Oh, okay.
He's the reason why Rush wasn't in the Hall of Fame and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he didn't like Rush or whatever. They weren't, in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
those guys.
He's the Dave Meltzer here,
The wrestling equivalent of that guy?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's what he's the guy who wouldn't put Kiss in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He wouldn't put Rush in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because it wasn't his. He didn't like it.
What have those guys ever done?
Yeah. Who they ever beat? Well, hey, thank you so much, man. We've kept you 5 times the length of time that we asked. So
thanks for putting up with us.
Thank you for going from being a small snippet of our episode this week to pretty much.
Well, here's the thing about Joey, dude. We've been friends since '92.
Yeah, long time.
You've been with me along every part of my life, my journey, and we both pretty much had a journey together. You through music, me through wrestling, and we're forever intertwined with the BWO theme. I'm grateful for the day I met you, buddy. And I always tell the story about we became friends and then we're kind of relatives now. His mom married my uncle and we didn't know that. I didn't know they were dating or whatever, but that's a whole nother story. But I was like, we're related now. Yeah, but awesome. I always consider your family, but not you are family. You and Chris and your wonderful mother who I got to meet.
Yeah, we feel the same way about you, bro. So
yeah,
we're very happy.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm very happy that you have some really positive stuff going on, and the podcast is great. And
thank you.
I have my Blue Meanie Van Halen shirt, and I should have wore that today.
Oh, sweet.
You fucked up. You fucked up. ECW.
So before we let you go, put yourself over. Tell people where they can find you, where they can find any of your albums, what you're up to now. I mean, you might just be
Guitar Garage.
I was gonna say you might just be hiding, inside like the rest of us. But what I'm
currently cowering under my dining room table most days. The Swamp Candles videos you can find a bunch of those on YouTube. I think there's there's a live performance, the only live performance we ever did of the BWO theme.
Yeah.
Where Meanie comes out on stage with us.
That was great.
Yeah, that's on YouTube. But the last couple of years I've been working on a show called Guitar Garage that will basically be, if it's what I envision it to be, it's going to be about guitar customization and modification, and then each week would be a cool a theme build almost.
That's awesome.
They used to do on American Choppers kind of before they turned into a bad soap opera all those years ago. But COVID's kind of shut down some of the production of that. so it's been slow going. But people can go to guitargaragetv.com, and there's a YouTube channel that there's some videos up of some of the stuff behind the scenes and some of the clips from the show.
That's great.
So that's musically, that's sort of where my focus has been lately. We did a video recently that's up there where we backed up a track that Izzy Stradlin had done a couple years ago, where he was just playing acoustic guitar and singing Stuck in the Middle with You. And, you know, all these people are doing these quarantine videos where the drummer's recording his part in his home and bass player's recording the part in his home. And so we got inspired sort of by some of the covers. There's a great one of Loss of Control by the guy from Machine Head, I think, the guitar player from Machine Head, and Jeff Scott Soto. Have you seen that, Meanie?
No, not yet, but I will.
It's incredible. It's really, really good. So we sort of got inspired by the videos like that, and we did a bass track, a drum track, and a couple of guitar tracks over top of Izzy Stradlin playing acoustic guitar and singing. So that video's up there. That's gotten a lot of positive response. So, but yeah, other than that, just the same as everybody else, waiting for this shit show to end so we can all go outside and see each other again
and be productive.
Do whatever we want and see you and come up and have a beer or two.
Or 3.
Hey.
No, well, that 2 and 3 equals 5, so we set the minimum.
I meant pitchers.
Yes.
Yeah. 2 or 3 pitchers.
One day we're going to have to do, when we do a live Mind of the Meanie show somewhere, maybe we're going to have to see if we can't get another live performance of the AEW theme, or at least just have you come out and have a beer. So that's, either way.
Whatever you guys want, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me. This has been a good talk. I'm glad we could talk some Van Halen.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad you're on. I'm proud to call you my friend, and I love you dearly. You know that.
I love you too, bro.
Want to show the world how much you love Mind of the Meanie? Go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Mind of the Meanie and check out some of the great merchandise we have over there.
One of my favorites is the new Van Meanie shirt. You know, I'm a big fan of Van Halen, and now I get to show it with my own Van Meanie shirt.
And of course, we have the original Mind of the Meanie logo tee by the great Hal Haney. There's Wreck Every Bathroom and Leave, and so much more. So make sure you check out ProWrestlingTees.com/Mind of the Meanie. But if that's not enough for you and you want to support the Blue Meanie, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Blue Meanie and check out all of the great shirts the Blue Meanie has. Meanie, tell us about those.
Hey, I was a part of this thing called the BWO. I don't know if you've heard. But we have the original Blue World Order shirt that was one of the highest grossing t-shirts in ECW history. And not only do I have that version of BWO, I have BWO Japan, I have BWO Barbed Wire Border, I have BWO Kansas City Royals logo for some reason. I don't know. But go over to ProWrestlingTees.com/Blue Meanie and get yourself one of the original BWO shirts, man.
And if you feel like you really, really need to, you can also go to ProWrestlingTees.com/So Says Shernoff and check out some of the merchandise that I have over there, like the Shernoff tie shirt, or the very popular Sarcasm is My Superpower shirt.
My favorite.
But wait, there's more. Because if we're talking about wrestling shirts, then we have to be talking about the wrestling brand. Collar and Elbow brand.com. Use the promo code Meanie and save 10% over there.
I don't know if you know, but the Blue Meanie and the BWO took over the offices of Collar and Elbow brand. I got a special shirt over there. It's the Collar and Elbow mirror logo, but instead of saying elbow, it says LBWO. So go over there and give Rod Hicks and Al Snow, my big brother, some love and use the promo code Meanie and save yourself some cash.
Great to have Joey Campbell join us.
Yeah, man.
I was happy to just finally get to meet him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm glad I wanted to have Joey on. Besides the fact that he's one of my best friends ever, and a guy I consider a brother and love him to death. And he wrote, he's responsible for the BWO theme, which we use here every week on Mind of the Meanie. But I respect his guitar playing. His guitar playing has touched me in a lot of ways. And I wanted to have somebody on here, I mean, you play guitar as well, but, just like, it was a good excuse
But you wanted
to have
someone
Joey
who
on
was
because,
good
at
play.
Have Joey on to talk about, the playing of Eddie Van Halen and, the technical side. And there's a lot of side roads we went down in Philadelphia rock lore as well. But that was a fun conversation. I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as we had enjoyed having it. And thanks for having Joe on. Yeah, and if you go follow his stuff, guitargarage.tv.
I think it's guitargaragetv.com. Is that what it was?
Thank you very much.
That's what I'm for.
He's on Twitter as well. So Twitter and Instagram, Guitar Garage TV. But yeah, thank you, Joey, for being on. And it was a great conversation.
But yeah, so just to kind of jump into things, and I want to really focus on you. And we talked a little bit about that when, we talked about how you first kind of discovered them. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to elaborate on outside of what we talked about with Joey. But, we kind of gave a little bit of like a deep dive into his start that got them up to that 1984 point, and Jump being the massive success that it was and still is to this day. I implore you to find any bar or bat mitzvah that's not playing Jump. But they ended up winning a Grammy in 1992 for Best Hard Rock Performance with Vocals for the album For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. In 2019, the band ranked 20th on the RIAA list of best-selling artists with 56 million album sales in the United States and more than 80 million worldwide. So anytime anybody's listening to this thinking Meanie is their only fan, you're slightly wrong. Additionally, Van Halen charted 13 number one hits in the history of Billboard's mainstream rock chart. Meanwhile, VH1 ranked the band 7th on a list of the top 100 hard rock artists of all time. And of course, in 2007, Van Halen was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And individually, Eddie received acclaim for his guitar work in the band. But so much more than that, he had so many different side projects, worked with so many different people. We mentioned Gene Simmons before. Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And Black Sabbath.
Here's a couple ones. I mean, everybody knows the Michael Jackson. And the funny thing is about him working with Michael Jackson and doing the solo for Beat It, he was at home at his studio. He had his own home studio, 5150. So he gets a phone call. Hi, is Eddie Van Halen there? He goes, this is him. Hi, this is Quincy. He's like, he's thinking it's a fucking prank call. He just, I don't know, Quincy, and fucking hangs up. He thinks that a fan got his fucking phone number, calling him, blah, blah, blah. Guy calls back up. He goes, hey, Eddie, this is Quincy. He goes, listen here, you fucking asshole. I don't know. No, Quincy hangs up. He goes, Quincy Jones, who's producing Michael Jackson's Beat It record, calls back. Eddie, it's Quincy Jones. He goes, oh, sorry. I thought this was a prank phone call.
Oh, man.
And it turns out he's like, Eddie was recommended to Quincy Jones from Pete Townsend of The Who. They wanted Pete Townsend to do something on the album. And Pete couldn't do it. He's like, hey, man, there's this kid, Eddie Van Halen. Why don't you have him on? And a little use his knowledge for the for Michael Jackson's Thriller record. The backing band was Toto.
Yes.
From Africa, Roseanne, and all that stuff. And Eddie and their guitar player, Steve Lukather, they were already close friends as it was, around the same age, guitar greats. Mm-hmm. So Eddie goes in and, he listens to the song, and Michael Jackson had stepped out. So Eddie was like, man, I like the song. I like the playing, but I thought this one part should go, my solo should go here, there, and the other thing. So when Michael Jackson returned, there's a lot of technical shit I don't know, but Michael Jackson comes back to the studio. I wish I would have talked about this with Joey, but it just popped in my head. He's like, Michael Jackson walks back in the studio, goes, hey man, I kind of rearranged your song. And Michael's like, okay. So he plays it back, and Eddie was like, Eddie loved it. There's a funny moment where Eddie's doing his guitar solo for Beat It in the studio, and one of the speakers on Eddie's cabinet catches fire. So the two engineers turn to each other and go, it must be good. He just the speaker on the fucking amplifier fucking burst into flames. Man. But the crazy thing about Eddie Van Halen doing the solo for Beat It is that caused a lot of friction within the band because they had this rule of not doing anybody else's stuff, projects and stuff like that. Mm. And he said, Alex was out of town, Michael was out of town, David Lee Roth was out of town. So I had nobody to ask. So I was like, who's going to find out if I go do this little R&B kids record, Yeah. So he went over there, worked for like 20 minutes, didn't tell anybody. And then, Beat It comes out, and he's standing in, and he said he went to Tower Records to buy something. And Beat It comes on the radio. And the two guys in front of him in line at Tower Records go, listen to this motherfucker trying to sound like Eddie Van Halen. And then he taps him on the shoulder and goes, it is me.
That's
They're
awesome.
like, holy shit, so Eddie Van Halen and their 1984 album, which was their biggest commercial success at the time, only went to number 2 because Beat It, which he played on, was the number 1 album and number 1 song. So he kind of cock-blocked himself from having his own band have their own number 1 hit. And there's other friction within the band that kind of led them to have their hardships. Before 1984, they had Diver Down, which was widely known as their cover album, even though they had originals. And Eddie had this piece of guitar. He was trying to do this interesting, unique piece of guitar he was sitting on. And Ted Templeman was pushing Van Halen to do a cover of Dancing in the Streets. And they heard this piece of music, and they kind of forced Eddie to do this guitar part and use it for Dancing in the Streets, which later on the Struts would do their own version of Dancing in the Streets, and it's basically the Van Halen version with the same sounds. So that led to a little bit of friction. 1984 led to a little bit of friction with, Eddie doing Michael Jackson's Beat It. But also Eddie wanted to branch off and start playing keyboards. He's a classically trained pianist. That was his first instrument. And Dave's like, dude, you're the fucking guitar hero. You're not going to be a keyboard guy. And Eddie's like, I'm a fucking musician. If I want to play the Bavarian fucking cheese whistle on an album, I'm going to fucking do it. I'm a musician. I'll play whatever the fuck I want. So if you put on 1984, Van Halen's 1984, the opening track is called 1984. And oddly enough, me and Mrs. Meanie were playing Van Halen White on vinyl, and it starts with this, and Mrs. Meanie goes, is that the ECW theme? Because it sounds just like
the
ECW theme where this is extreme. It sounds almost identical. But that was Eddie's fuck you to Ted Templeman and David Lee Roth, saying you're not going to be the keyboard guy. And he's like, all right, I'm not going to be the keyboard guy. This album's going to start off with fucking keyboards with a tune I wrote called 1984. And then once, they didn't want, Dave had nothing to do with the song Jump because of the keyboards and all that stuff. But once the song Jump went to number 1 on the charts, they kind of fucking changed their fucking tune. And that became one of their biggest hits. Van Halen's Jump was played on NBA highlights and everything. Rock and Roll Express used that, Bill Watts used Van Halen Jump, for the Rock and Roll Express's music video or something like that, introduce them into UWF Mid-South, or, it was Mid-South at the time. It wasn't UWF yet. But, that just led to a lot of hardship in the band, and that's, what led to Dave going off to become a solo artist. And when he, became a solo artist, he went and started like a Van Halen Jr. with Steve Vai, who, if you're going to replace Eddie Van Halen, replace him with Steve Vai. And then like the next album after Dave's debut album was Eat 'Em a Smile. He had done an EP called Crazy from the Heat, which was just a a covers record, but he did Eat 'Em and Smile. His next album, Skyscraper, was heavy on the keyboards. I'm like, it's like, dude, if you're so against keyboards, later on your second solo album, you're fucking pulling out keyboards. It's like, you could just stay with Van Halen, dude. Dave went off and did Crazy from the Heat, and he wanted to do a movie called Crazy from the Heat, and that's what led to him leaving Van Halen. And like you said earlier, Eddie was all bummed out and depressed and went to his Lamborghini mechanic, and a guy named Claudio. The car mechanic was called Claudio. The garage was called Claudio's. And Eddie was, Claudio goes, Ed, you seem depressed. He's like, yeah, my singer just left. He's like, I'm working on Sammy Hagar's car. Why don't you go give Sammy a call? Call Sammy. And from there, he called him from his garage, his shop. And the rest is history. And, we talked about it earlier. So few bands find that success after, their initial voice goes on. And they found Sammy, and from there, they didn't miss a beat. Van Halen had a huge impact on me. I went and would go to see them live. The first time I saw them live was the OU 812 tour. I missed out. I never got to see him live with Dave. I was living in Lansing at the time, so I wasn't really up on shows in Philly. So I missed the 5150 tour. So when OU 812 happened, I was like, I got to see Van Halen. And me and my cousin Jimmy took like a drive up to Philly and saw OU 812. And from there on, it's just like my life changed getting to see Eddie in person. It's one thing to hear the albums, but to see the live show is basically, the albums are out, records are commercials for the live show, just like how back in the day, WWE TVs were the commercials for you to go to the house show. So to see Van Halen live, be that close to Eddie and see him in person. I got a great story too. Like they brought Dave back into the band. It sounds like I'm going to make this shit up. I'm totally not making this shit up. 2007 reunion tour, they bring Dave back into the band. They got Wolfie on bass. And we go to see him at the Wells Fargo Center. And this is the first time me and Mrs. Me are going to go see Van Halen. And they're playing 2 nights. And Tracy didn't understand. I was like, no, we're going both nights, right? You see him no, it's Van Halen. If they do multiple shots, I see him every night. So we got tickets for the opening night and the second night. First night's amazing. We're on Eddie's side of the stage, but on the first level that rises up. And, right, like from here to, 20 feet from the stage almost. I'm sure I'm exaggerating, but close enough to where, you can really see Eddie. So there's like they're doing Ain't Talk About Love. It's towards the end of the show maybe. And there's a part of Ain't Talking About Love. And they go, hey, hey, hey. And the crowd goes, hey, 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 right? So during this part of Van Halen doing Ain't Talking About Love, Mrs. Meanie reaches into her purse and starts putting on some lip balm, right? Mm-hmm. Just like this. And Eddie's looking at our fucking side of the stage. Everybody's going, hey, hey, hey. And Tracy's just like, and I swear to God, he's looking at her going, hey, hey, hey. Like, and Tracy goes, hey, hey, hey. And fucking Eddie looks at her, goes, thank you. And walks over and like,
oh wow,
it's like he spotted her out of the fight. The one person not going, hey, hey, hey. And if you watch the night one Van Halen 2007, sorry, Ain't Talk About Love, you see Eddie Van Halen looking off to the side, going, hey, 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 and then she doesn't. And he goes to the mic. He goes, thank you, and it just goes back off the.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It sounds like something if somebody told me that story, I'd be like, oh, yeah, whatever. But I went back and watched the bootleg, and you see him going, are you going to raise your hands like everybody else? Stop doing your lip balm?
That's amazing.
Like that.
I wanted to talk a little bit about his guitars. And
yeah.
One guitar in particular, the Frankenstrat, which is iconic with him. It's not only the tattoo that you have is off of that design.
On my left leg, which I made them put into WrestleMania 2000. So if you go into WrestleMania 2000, and you take off my shoes, my Van Halen striped tattoos in the game.
Oh, because you can take like the outfits off and everything. Yeah, and like change the style.
If you wanted Blue Meanie to wrestle barefoot into my Van Halen striped tattoos in WrestleMania 2000.
That's a really cool fun fact.
Yes.
Another fun fact with that is, as it relates to wrestling, Chris Jericho had tights that went early in his run in WWF. He had tights. I want to say they were like barbed wire, though. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was 100% inspired by the design of that guitar. That was what it was meant to be. Very iconic. We've got our, what we call Van Meanie shirt has that in there. There's you've got your shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees where you're playing the guitar and you're playing a blue version of that guitar.
That was done for my lung surgery benefit show,
right?
To help raise funds. And Mrs. Meanie drew it by hand and colored it and all that stuff. And she modeled it. There's a photo of Eddie who's down on one knee with the leg out and playing the guitar. She drew me as that, but instead of red and black and white, she did blue, white, and black or something like that. So yeah, I got that over to Pro Wrestling Tees too.
So a fun thing I learned about it was that it was originally just black, and then they actually used red bicycle paint.
The frankest stat, if you go to Van Halen 1 and look at the album cover, he's holding a guitar. It's a white guitar with black stripes and a black pick guard. He got tired of the look, and he wanted to reinvent the guitar. So he painted it red with the bicycle paint, as you said, and switched some of the knobs. Like it was all about the technology, too. If he liked something different... Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say that's one of the things that he built that guitar from various different pieces that cost next to nothing. Yeah. By the way, which the neck was $80 from what I've seen. The body was bought for $50 because the wood had a knot in it.
Yeah.
And then he took the arm from a Fender Stratocaster, and just different bridge pickups, it was, again, and I know a lot of people do this, and I've never really been good at building my own guitars. But I know Calvin has built a number of guitars on his own. But to just have the wherewithal to just be like, I'm going to take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, just to get the sound that I want. And then you take this guitar that cost you really next to nothing to make, and it's the most visually iconic guitar out there.
If you want to buy a replica of it, it's like almost $10,000 to buy the replica.
Way more money. But originally he was using the Les Paul because he wanted it to sound, and he had changed. I think I had it here somewhere, but he had changed a pickup on the bridge because he wanted it to sound like Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
Which again goes back to that. So I found that really cool how so much of everything was, he had specific pickup selections that he would use because it needed to have what he called a brown sound, which was
based off of my favorite Van Halen album, Fair Warning.
Yeah.
That album was called The Brown Sound.
So he said, he was quoted as saying that brown sound is basically a tone or a feeling that I'm always working at. It comes from the person. If the person doesn't even know what the type of tone I'm talking about is, they can't really work towards it, can they? Which is just interesting, again, that he felt that he knew what it was that he was trying to create. Such an incredible musician.
And to add on to that, Jerry Cantrell, the guitar player from Alice in Chains, said, we were touring with Van Halen. They were opening up for Van Halen on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour, which stood for fuck. For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Fuck. They were thinking, what do we call the album? Why don't we just call it Fuck? And Vinny Boom Boom Mancini gave him the idea. They're like, well, you know what fuck stands for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. So Alice in Chains opened up for that tour, and Jerry Cantrell said he went on stage looking at Eddie's gear, and Eddie's like, you want to play it? He's like, well, I'm going to go. I pick up Eddie's guitar. I'm playing through his system. I sound nothing like Eddie Van Halen. He's like, but, Eddie could pick up my guitar and sound like Eddie Van Halen. He's like, Jerry Cantrell says, I truly believe the music is in your fingers. It's part of your body. Eddie could pick up whatever guitar and just make it sound like Eddie Van Halen because it's the electricity that comes through his body, his fingertips, his soul, his mind, and everything. But music is in you, and Eddie could channel it no better than anybody else.
Before we get to talking just more about everything that he meant to you, we'll talk a little bit about his personal life. Because we are trying to educate people a little bit here. So he married Valerie Bertinelli.
Yes.
And they had their son, Wolfgang, who we've mentioned a little bit here. And Wolfgang has had, since Eddie's passing, has had just incredible posts and sharing just really great stories and pictures, some really good pictures on social media. But
absolutely,
they divorced, and he ended up marrying his wife, I believe, till his death,
Janie
Lizwiski. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Was an actress and stunt woman, and was Van Halen's publicist at a time. Which is kind of interesting.
If you look on YouTube, she does independent wrestling.
So that's something I saw on social media as well. She was like there was a video of her managing someone coming to the ring with somebody.
They're both, her and her wrestler who she manages, who I feel so bad I can't think of his name. They're both ballroom dancers. Classic ballroom dancers. But the one guy happens to be a wrestler, so he asked her if he wanted to be a part of her ring entrance and manage him.
How cool is that?
And she's from Philly too, which if you go to her YouTube or Twitter, says Philly born, California, whatever. Wow. But here's a cool, like Eddie was married to Valerie for the longest time. To the point where, like, you say, a couple's together long enough, they kind of look like each other.
Yeah.
But
does that count?
Mrs. Meanie's like, she just took it. I ain't even gonna put it over.
Okay.
But does that count as a run-in?
I think it counts as a run-in. We've heard it a lot.
I'll hit the theme. Hold on.
Mind of the Meanie, Mrs. Meanie round and Tracy Roots got something to say. Hey, hey, hey.
You got. I'll get back to this point, but yeah, real quick.
I said, is that why I'm getting fat?
You're not getting fat.
What?
He said couples start to look alike.
Oh.
Is that why I'm getting fat?
Oh, come on now. That's all kinds of wrong, folks.
But hold on. To get back to, she's off making Mrs. Meanie's brew coffee. So I'm mad when she says stuff like that. But Eddie and Valerie were married, and they were going to have expecting their first kid, Wolfgang, who goes on to be Wolfgang. And when Wolfgang was in the womb, he would kick a lot. So what Eddie would do would get his acoustic guitar and get the curved parts, set her on his stomach, and play this tune. And it was a song like he always, if you go on to YouTube, watch Eddie Van Halen guitar solo, he plays this tune in concert right before he rips into Eruption. That's like a slow little bluesy thing. So he would take the slow little bluesy riff, put it on her stomach, play it, and Wolfie would stop kicking. So Wolfie was born, and then when they come out with the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album, a.k.a. Fuck, hold on. Thank you, Mrs. Meanie.
My name is Tracy Root.
Thank you, Tracy Root. Van Halen comes out with For for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, there's an instrumental piece on there called 316, which is Wolfie's birthday, and it's the song he would play on Valerie's stomach to calm him down. So I always thought that was pretty cool because Van Halen always had they always do little instrumental pieces. Like Van Halen 1 had Eruption, Van Halen 2 had Spanish Fly, Fair Warning had an instrumental, keyboard instrumental called Sunday Afternoon in the Park. 1984 opened up with 1984. They didn't really do one for 5150 or OU 812, but when for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge came out, 316, the song he would play on Valerie's Stomach to calm down Wolfie, he put that on the album called the 316. Flash forward, Wolfie is playing guitar himself, and he's in the school talent show. And Eddie's in the crowd recording him. And Wolfgang Van Halen walks up to the microphone and goes, "Hi, I'm Wolfie. This is a song my daddy played for my mommy when I was in her stomach. It's called 316." And he, unbeknownst to Eddie, starts playing the song that Eddie would play for Wolfie in the womb. And Eddie said, "I'm trying to record this thing, and I have tears flowing down my cheek."
Wow.
Yeah. And then later on, Wolfie, and dude, this is why I'm so mad. I'm not mad, but like I talked about earlier, I wanted to see Van Halen on the Sharon tour, and I missed the Spectrum show because I was wrestling for ECW in Pittsburgh. At the Philadelphia Spectrum show, Wolfie makes his first public appearance. Eddie's playing 316, and Wolfie runs out and hugs him while he's playing 316 for the guitar solo at the Philadelphia Spectrum.
Wow.
And then later on, when they had the reunion tour with Sammy, there was a moment where, and they didn't do it on the shows I went to in Philly, but Wolfie came out. Like, Eddie's out there with his guitar, and you hear guitar play, and Eddie's not playing. And then all of a sudden, Wolfie walks out with a miniature version of his Frankenstein guitar, and Wolfie's playing 316 on stage with his father.
Wow.
Which is like the most beautiful thing.
I wanted to circle back to something we talked about earlier with Dimebag Darrell.
Yeah.
Anthony Camarata pointed this out. This was something that I had seen earlier and had in my notes to talk about. That the Bumblebee guitar is actually buried with Dimebag Darrell. And I found that I didn't know any of this until after somebody had shared, and I don't know, maybe it was Anthony had shared that with us before. They had only met a little bit before Dimebag Darrell died, but as you mentioned before, the last thing he said was Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen went and gave that when people asked why, well, do you want to give the original? Like, why not? You could give him a replica or something. He was quoted as saying, "Dime was an original. He deserves the original," and buried the guitar with him. And that I think that speaks.
And only the best for the best.
Yeah, and I think that speaks just volumes of the guy, of the man behind the legend.
And to that point, I have to say this, since Mrs. Meanie's up doing a run-in. Eddie and Alex, brothers in the world-famous Van Halen brothers band, brothers in a famous band. Pantera had Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Abbott. My favorite band, Van Halen. Mrs. Meanie's favorite band and favorite guitar player, before she even met me, Dimebag Darrell. I have on my left leg a Van Halen striped guitar striped tattoo from his guitar. On Mrs. Meanie's left leg, she has Dimebag Darrell's guitar tattooed on her leg before we even met.
Wow.
So my favorite band influenced her favorite band. I have a tattoo on my left leg of my favorite guitar player. She has a tattoo of her favorite guitar player on her left leg. My guy influenced her guy. And before we even met for Halloween in ECW, I was Gene Simmons as Kiss. Mm-hmm. And she has a photo of her as Gene Simmons from Kiss for Halloween.
Wow.
So that's another way that Van Halen has touched me personally, that, the love of my life, Tracy.
Was buried. Eddie threw in the guitar.
Yeah, he was just talking about. Josh was talking about how, Eddie donated his striped Bumblebee guitar in Daryl's casket, and to touch. You said that speaks volumes to the person. Valerie Bertinelli's brother David, who toured with Van Halen, it was almost their exclusive photographer, just posted on Twitter saying, I reached out to Ed. We were doing a charity auction. And he reached out to Ed and said, "Hey, Ed, can you give me one of the Frankensteins and sign it, autograph it, and we'll auction it?" Eddie thought he meant like the original Frankenstein guitar. Eddie was going to give him this Frankenstein guitar, which is probably worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, just for the value, or maybe millions.
Even more, yeah.
Yeah. But Eddie was so selfless and thoughtless. He was going to give him not the replica. He was going to give him the original. Man. He's like, no, just give me the replica. No. That's how Eddie is.
Yeah.
Craig Gass, great comedian, who lived with Eddie for like 4 months. Craig Gass was homeless. Eddie brought him in because Craig was getting out of a bad relationship. He was like, "Move in with me. Move out of our house, move in with me, whatever." He said he was sitting around with Eddie, and he was just like, "I love that thing in Cathedral you did with the thing." And he goes, "Craig, sit down." And he picks up his guitar and does like a 20-minute version of Cathedral just for Craig, because as a musician and a performer, he thought he owed it to Craig to play him his favorite song for him. So he had this one-on-one Craig Gass sitting on the couch just watching Eddie play Cathedral. He didn't say, "Can you play the song for me?" He's like, "I love this song." And he's like, "Craig, sit down." He's like, No, you don't have to play. Sit down. And he played it. And to go on about how much Eddie is as a human being, after Alice in Chains opened up for Van Halen on that tour, Eddie took such a liking to Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. He gave him a garage full of Eddie Van Halen gear. He gave him all his gear.
Wow. So
if you ever saw Alice in Chains on tour after their debut album, Facelift, on the Dirt album, if you watch the Them Bones video, he's playing Eddie Van Halen's guitar.
Wow.
His Wolfgang. Eddie came out with his own guitar. It's called Wolfgang. He's playing Eddie's Wolfgang guitar that Eddie gave him all that gear after the tour because he liked Jerry Cantrell so much. He just shipped it to his house. All this boxes come to his house. Like, what's this? It's fucking Eddie Van Halen's gear. So
unbelievable. And as we wind down here, he obviously, it's well known, he had his struggles with alcohol and drug abuse. But it should be noted that he was sober since 2008.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into, I just want to talk about a couple of his health, because that's unfortunately why we're talking about him today. He had a ton of injuries. He ended up having to have his hip replaced back in 99. And then he ended up having tongue cancer in 2000. So, but they removed roughly a third of his tongue. He was declared cancer-free in 2002. I thought this was interesting, though. He blamed the tongue cancer on his habit of holding guitar picks in his mouth. Mm-hmm. He stated in 2015, quote, "I used metal picks, they're brass and copper, which I always held in my mouth in the exact place where I got the tongue cancer. I mean, I was smoking and doing a lot of drugs and a lot of everything, but at the same time, my lungs are totally clear. This is just my own theory, but the doctors say it's possible." I thought that was kind of interesting, and also how he kind of took responsibility for it, was like, I kept that in my mouth, and let me share that with everybody else. You probably shouldn't do that,
Another thing he said, it was, he spent every day of his life in a recording studio, and he said the electromagnetic field that's around him, the electricity around him, is probably what contributed to, his cancer as well, because he had, throat cancer, tongue cancer, which he said was from him holding the pick, the metal pick in his mouth. So,
And of course, as you just mentioned, he had throat cancer, which ultimately, he had that for the past 5 years or so, and ultimately he would succumb to that on October 6th, 2020, just a couple of days ago as we record this. Yeah. He passed away in Santa Monica, California, with his wife and his brother and his son by his side. And his ex, Valerie Bertinelli, as well. I didn't know that she was actually by his side. She put out a really touching statement saying that, they divorced, but they were still good friends, through Wolfie and stuff like that. And she put out a really touching, farewell that, she was happy to be there with Wolfgang and the family, Alex and Janie, in his final moments. And that really hit me hard as a human being because, I was there. I wasn't there when my grandfather died. I wasn't there when my grandmother died, but I swore to God I would be there for my mom, and being there through the whole process of my mom passing away, and being there when she took her final breath. I read that and it just hit me like a fucking ton of bricks. Eddie was loved by all, myself included, and I'm one of his. I don't want to say disciple because I can't play guitar for shit, but I'm a big believer in Eddie and everything he does and everything he did, and everything he did I could relate to personally, and just to hear he was surrounded by love in his last moments meant a lot to me. And it meant a lot to me too because when it came out that he had passed away, Tracy found out, and she wanted to shield me kind of from the news because I was out at the store shopping, and I was unaware. My phone starts ringing. I looked down, it's Tracy, and she let me know. She didn't want me to find it from anywhere else, and I kind of lost my shit in public. But it meant that much to me that, Tracy wanted to be the first one to... She knows me.
No. You're doing this, touching, loving thing. But the truth is, I found out, and I knew that he didn't know. And all I could imagine was that people were texting him, and he had no idea. Yeah. Like that, when somebody you love dies, you should probably get a phone call. Yeah. So I called him. It wasn't that loving and touching, calm down, dude. But it's more loving and touching than Mrs. Meanie wants to admit. But it was like a little kid. Like I knew he was going to be a mess about it. I was breaking up, telling him, and I was like, "All right, buddy, go splash some cold water on your face, like a little, when you're a mess, you put some cold water, like." But I knew he was going to come home, and that's what, we were going to listen to Van Halen. That's what we do anyway. Right. He'll just be like, oh, here's this thing. I just want to listen to this. I'm like, all right, okay. All right. So I said, I pulled everything off of our stereo cabinet, which is right here. So he uses it as a freaking table, and I hate it. But so I cleared off the one end. He cleared off his side, and I pulled out all my Van Halen records. I was like, I want the night that he passed. I said, I want vinyl tonight. Mm-hmm. Instead of sitting there and skipping through, we always look at YouTube. I pulled out my records. We put on records. I said, you want snacks, buddy? It was like a little kid, his goldfish died. He was a little kid. You want snacks, buddy? I said, anything in the whole wide world at ShopRite. What do you want, bud? He's like, how about cheesecake? Okay, we'll get you some cheesecake, buddy.
I don't know that you realize how, you say, oh, you're making it sound like it's all lovey and all that stuff. I don't know how much you realize, or I hope you realize how much I'm sure that meant to him. To have somebody who's willing to do something like that.
I know, because my hero's been dead, so I have my dime bag story. I was there a week before he was killed. front row Damage Plan. I was there in Hartford. That was the first time and the only time I ever got to see him. So, I mean, I'm not usually I get drunk and I'll blab the story a billion fucking times, but yeah, I know. and I told him I was like, my hero's been dead, dude. Like, I got you. Welcome to the club.
Oh man, what a fun club to be a part of. It's
Well, at least we got to see him as many times as we did, and like every time they came around, we saw them, and you know, and it doesn't matter who sings. Everybody's like, oh, Van Hagar.
We've talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, he goes, oh, it's not Van Lee Roth.
She knows my.
It's my favorite Blue Meanie line in the whole wide world is, it's not Van Lee Roth. It's Van Halen.
She knows me too well.
Yeah. But no, I hope that people listening at this point can understand why it hit you as hard as it did. I know it hit so many people hard. And it's, and one of the things that kind of struck me, like you said, reading about him being surrounded by his family, surrounded, you have a tendency to get far more. You open up more than I do on the show.
I'm a sappy son of a bitch.
No, but hey, maybe you're just more comfortable in your own skin. But it was one of the things when my dad passed away. It was one of those things in everything that I'd been doing in my life and whatever directions I was planning to take or whatever, and thinking back on all the great things my dad had done. I looked around and my dad, when he passed, was surrounded by my mom and his children. And I always looked at that and what I walked away from that, and that was just a little under a year before I had my first child. And I remember my takeaway from that was what was important in life. That no matter what, that was all of it, because he did some really cool things. And he worked really hard and was very talented, and whether it was music or as an artist and craftsman. But at the end of the day, the most important thing he ever did was what he did for his family. And that's kind of, and it struck me as that as well, that all of these fans and everybody and all the praise that people throw on him, I'm glad, especially in this just freaking terrible time that we are living in right now, where so many people, you talked about with, your grandparents, and my grandmother passed away a couple of days before my son was born a few months ago. And because of the pandemic and everything, I would not have been able to be there anyway. My wife was obviously gave birth 3 days later. I would not have been able to travel down to Florida. But my grandmother, thankfully, they allowed my mom to come in, and my mom had to wear basically like a hazmat suit to sit there with her and with my grandfather. And all I ever, think I've thought about all the people in this time, not to get so depressing and everything, but I think about everybody in this time who, the 200,000+ people who have died from this virus, and then all of the people who have just died from other, would have died virus or no virus, but died alone because of this horrible pandemic. It is comforting anytime you hear that somebody was able to pass away with what really mattered, which was their family, and that with everything that he did, talk about his ex-wife being there as well, again, speaks to the person. You hear about a lot of musicians, a lot of actors, a lot of wrestlers who just, by the end, they got nothing and nobody because they've alienated everybody because, they're shooting for the stars and they can't, take everybody with them. To me, it was a really comforting thing to know that was how he passed. So I just wanted to give my opinion on that.
Oh, and that means a lot. That means a lot. Another thing that means a lot is Eddie had mended a lot of fences before he passed away.
Yes.
Sammy Hagar just revealed to Howard Stern that, him and Eddie had been texting, and talking, and they kept that on the down low because they didn't want to fuel speculation of him getting back with the band. But Sammy, says, I don't want to take any enemies to the grave, and him and Eddie mended fences. It's good to him and Dave mended fences. Him and Michael Anthony had mended fences. So when he went, he had mended a lot of fences that it took away from that thing where, somebody passes, you go, man, I wish I could have just worked things out with somebody. He worked things out with everybody and was at peace. And like I said, I had a feeling this was coming. A lot of people had a feeling it was coming, but there's comfort in knowing that he went surrounded by love and he amended so many fences.
What would be if you normally we do an Ask Meanie, but I feel like at this point it's kind of good to kind of wrap it up on this end here. What is his legacy to you personally, and what do you think his legacy is going to be to the world as a whole?
His legacy to me is something where he's a genius. He had a vision, and he worked towards that vision. He spent every day while everybody else was out partying and doing things. He spent his whole living life honing his craft, from when his father trained him on piano to where he, like I said, he started, the Beatles happened, Dave Clark 5 happened. He wanted to, started playing drums. Then he started playing guitar. He could play saxophone. He could play all these different things. Whatever you choose to be your passion, be about it 100%. And just do it well. And don't be afraid to take risks or, take chances or draw a color outside the lines. On MTV, they showed him in his studio, and he was talking about he tried to learn certain things, they would give him stuff because he would try something different. Like his teachers would give him, grief for playing outside, coloring outside the lines. He's like, it's music theory, not music fact. Don't be afraid to take risks. And whatever your calling is, don't be afraid to color outside the line. Like with this podcast, what's your formula? My formula is no formula, because I want to just have a stream of consciousness that comes out of me each and every week with this podcast. He had a stream of consciousness that came through his feeling and his ability and his fingertips, that he inspired so many people around the world. And, his vision, his technology is going to live on through those records. It's going to live on through his son, who's going to be taking over the Eddie Van Halen gear company. And hopefully Wolfie goes into the vault and we get to hear all the other stuff that, kind of like how all the Prince stuff start coming out after Prince's passing. We start hearing all the other little gems that nobody else has heard. I mean, there's, a lot of stuff out there already. Hopefully that comes out. But, to me, his playing and his attitude and his overall demeanor influenced me as a human being, as a wrestler. And, is why I am the way I am towards other people, whether in wrestling or in interviews. And,
and there's a lot of guys who, like, that's their dude, and there's a lot of cover bands, but it's not just like, oh, we're a Van Halen cover band. Like, usually the guy who's in that chair has all the gear, has studied, like, all the weird, quirky things that he's done to his rigs. That's guitar speak. That's So I come from a musical family. I have 4 older brothers. Two of them play guitar. So there were always guitar magazines. That's why Dimebag's my dude. A lot of my favorite musicians are the guitar player. And it's because I had Guitar World laying around on the table. Like, I would read Guitar World. I don't play guitar. I do play ukulele, not very well. But I would read the guitar magazine to see what did Dimebag have to say every month, because he was in every Guitar World at the time.
Same here.
We have all Eddie, Guitar Worlds laying around the house because we want to see what he has to say, even if we have no idea what he's talking about. Yep. But you have these dudes that they have the rig, they have the cigarette burns in the neck and all that, like they want to do it. They want to be him as close as possible,
Yeah,
and nobody will ever replace him, certainly. But you got guys that are already trying. It's incredible that even before he passed away, he had the tributes. You know what I mean? Like, that says a lot about a person.
Oh, absolutely. I used to go see the, my most famous Meanie Toons stories. I used to go see a Van Halen tribute band called Atomic Punks. Those guys went on to become Steel Panther. Hal Sparks, the comedian who was in Queer as Folk and all that stuff, he's got a Van Halen tribute band called Nerd Halen, where they dress up as nerds and do all Van Halen songs. And their guitar player, what's the guitar player's name?
I think it's
Caleb Rappaport does online Eddie solos, and he plays note for note. So there's like I said, it was fortunate he had tributes before he passed, and hopefully, John Mayer, you would play Eddie Van Halen's strip guitar on stage. They would do Panama, him and his band.
I watched him do Panama, and because I'm and might not be cool to say, but I love John Mayer. I think he's an incredible musician. Mm-hmm. Everybody,
absolutely,
he got a bad rap because he was that poppy Body is a Wonderland guy. But he is an incredible musician. The stuff that he's done with Dead & Company is awesome. But I was watching his video of Panama just the other day because I was like, okay, I know he's done some Van Halen. I want to see it. It's the only time I've ever watched John Mayer play guitar and thought to myself anything other than this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, because I had just been watching videos of Eddie Van Halen playing it. And if you know how incredible I think John Mayer is as a guitar player, then you'd know what I'm saying there, because it was, he did an amazing job. Don't get me wrong. He did an awesome job.
Yeah.
But I had just watched, it basically I watched Van Halen, looked like I was just watching John Mayer and someone pressed fast forward while I was watching it, right? Like it's great skill, great everything, but so fast, so inventive. So it really is interesting how many people, I know I'm not alone with this, just because I was doing some research to be more aware of him for the show. It's just amazing how many people now are starting to learn more about him, and hopefully people who are listening to this show learn something about him. I know some of our Patreon members have been writing some great things and appreciating the stories that you're telling here. One thing that the last thing I wanted to leave everybody with, a quote from Eddie Van Halen was, he was speaking at the Smithsonian. Easy for me to say. Smithsonian's National Museum of American History in 2015. And he was discussing his life, and he said, "We came here with approximately $50 and a piano, and we didn't speak the language. Now look where we are. If that's not the American dream, what is?" And I think that with everything you were saying, that is the lesson of just the hard work, hell of a lot of talent. You got to have that talent. But the hard work, the determination, the dedication to his craft, what he was able to make of his life and the impact he was able to make on the rest of the world and so many people in the world is something that is going to be felt for years and decades and, forever. Do you have any last things you want to share with everybody? Any final thoughts? Somehow I feel like for the remainder of time on Meanie Toons, on Mind of the Meanie, we'll be talking about Van Halen because he's come up long before this, and we'll be talking about him for years to come. But any last thoughts that you'd like to share with everybody?
Last thoughts. First of all, thank you if you've listened throughout this whole thing. We didn't talk about, the usual stuff, but it all relates to me anyway. Eddie's been a part of my life since, I first became aware of Van Halen. My everyday life, he's my ringtone. He's my text alert. He's the wallpaper on my phone. He's a tattoo on my body. I would not be here. Oh.
He literally just never, ever shuts up about it. It's all the time.
Yeah.
I don't mind, though, because, really.
No, it's just fact. It's the truth, Bubba, as the Sheik would say.
You can have worse heroes.
Absolutely. I could totally have worse heroes. But, he's I wouldn't be here without him. His music kept me sane in the worst parts of my life. He brought me joy. He brought me happiness, as he did with everybody. But if you know me, then you know my love for Van Halen. That's why my phone, emails, everything blew up when the word came out. So if you listen to this, we could do another 5 hours easily, but I'll spare you with this time we've given you. But I am nothing without the music and inspiration of Van Halen.
And thank you for sharing everything with us, as you always do, Meanie. But thank you so much for sharing this, which is obviously a very important part of your life. You say you're nothing without Eddie Van Halen, and
I seem to say that about a lot of things. Like, I'm nothing without George Carlin. I'm nothing without my parents. I'm nothing without Al Snow. I am a melting pot of a bunch of influences. There's a lot of things that have molded me and made me who I am. And Van Halen's, if there's a pie chart, there's a good chunk of that pie chart would be Van Halen.
And we here at Mind of the Meanie are nothing without the Pod Squad, because
absolutely,
while I still would have very much enjoyed this conversation, it would have just been me and Meanie talking to each other for a few hours, and Joey Campbell as well. And thank you to Joey again for coming by and talking to us, and helping us pay tribute to one of, if not arguably, the greatest guitar players of all time, and someone that had a major impact on Meanie's life, and in turn, Meanie has had a major impact on all of our lives. If you're listening to this or sitting here talking as me, Meanie has had a large impact on all of our lives. So it trickles down, and that's really all you can hope for in this life, is to have a positive impact on people, and Eddie Van Halen absolutely did. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. If you haven't yet, give us a follow on social media at Mind of the Meanie across all platforms. Go to youtube.com/Mind of the Meanie and subscribe now. Hit that little bell. We got some fun stuff coming up there soon. Follow us as individuals. He is at Blue Meanie BWO across all platforms. I'm at Says Shernoffâ. Thank you again so much, Meanie, and thank you everybody who tuned in and listened to this. I hope I was able to, with my Wikipedia reading, able to do some justice and help navigate as I do. I'm kind of, I'm the tour guide inside Meanie's mind. So, and it's a job that I absolutely love. Join us again next Monday as we take our 30th trip into the mind of the Meanie.
Blue World Order.
Mr. Eddie Van Halen.
The world of MLW radio never stops.